you can place him in difficult lanes and find a lot of success off the back of it. Ayano just gets right-clicked into oblivion.
Full slime gameplay. That's what you want to see. Ooh, quick dip out. Trying to look for the predictive adjustment. And it is really nice use of the Vexing Bolt. It's one of those abilities, the mileage can vary so much, but as soon as you understand how to actually get the most out of it, the early damage, like you were saying for the laning phase, but like, it could just be so frustrating, consistently getting those shots off where it feels like you're kind of playing like wantage, like bending the bullet round the corner, keeps you always looking over the back of your neck. You can't just dive into shop and tuck back. So it's
that's
nice
my
to
Angelina Jolie right there. Sinclair. But yeah, you are right. I think Vexing Bolt was such an interesting ability as well, because it's one of the abilities that, although it's frustrating to play against, I can't get too mad about it, because I think anyone who can wield Vexing Bolt well, they sort of deserve the praise for it, right? You know, it's not always easy to use in terms of getting the max damage out of it, and a very good Sinclair is just a menace to play against in there.
Oh yeah. Used to be even worse, you know, freezing of the nerves that come through. Okay, going for the dive. Calvin going to drop out the frozen shelter and at least waste a bit of time. They do force the last stand, hard commit onto the Guardian, so sub 5 minutes, that one's going to be picked up. More damage being done as well. Ooh, 2 takedowns with you losing out on really a fair amount of control back over the Woods Broadway and Greenwich from this. So map control's good and early pressure being applied from one win.
Again, this is really difficult as well, because these are the characters you don't want to get ahead early. Pocket, when they're ahead, it is very, very tough to work with, because then they can absolutely run the server. Similarly with Paradox, and this is just going to give a lot of time for Xenon and Empty Dreams to start to really pop off. Nice little puddle punch to get the team into position.
Calvin doing what he does best, frustrating gameplay from the top rope, beaming down on you, slams his way back down, pops out that frozen shelter, good timing with the parry as well for the read, forces out the cube at least. You've got a bit of backup and could turn this one around, but the predictive parry, oh mate, Goo Boy goes floppy, goes down, and Mirage looking to reaggress onto it. Not worth the risk. Pop the Jin's mark, back it up, maybe see if you can still get a tag. Thankfully for him, Warden on the roam, it's Empty Dreams shutting him down. Only Nightmares.
Coming, taking a lot of damage. It's a weird TP. Knows he can't TP directly backwards because it's likely to get stuck on something, as it always does. Careful with his ammunition here. Only has 2 bullets left in the chamber. Has to go for the punch. Lovely parry predict on that one. Oh! Basically 0.2 away from getting that Enchanter's Satchel off as well. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that was a bit of a nail biter, actually. Okay. He's able to win it, though.
This will help when we push.
Worth its weight in gold, at least into the early game. Hang on a minute. Big dive in. Barrel over the top. Last stand shouldn't get off. Activation time on that with the initial cast, leaving him susceptible. Barrel to the face. Bits of wood everywhere. Not going to work out too well. Forcing them further back as well to gain more control. Hit towards Broadway. You do get the pocket ult forced out with a big dive in. Quick TP out with the cloak as well. Just trying to slow it down. Quell the idea of him feeling too comfortable to push back up on this. Big posture as well. This is going to be a hell of a group up. Fight's coming in. Get the early damage done with the Paradox Wall in the corner as well. Bebop. Oh, so low. Chase down again. Going to trade back out with Wraith getting the tag over, assisting them. And of course, the infliction just slowly nipping at them and making it awkward here. A lot of scraps, Blank.
Yeah, again, I think that was very well played from overseas. I mean, Time War did a massive amount of work. And again, a lot of these plays that we are seeing throughout the entirety of these sets, a lot of it is just effective delay that you're watching on screen, and how long can you keep a fight going while still having value on it. The rest of the teams will start to move on in. Xenon likely dead here to the killing blow. Just come through. Again, this is good from Fearless Furies because they know they just can't let Xenon free farm. It's really not good for business. But Nakaman getting ahead, as is Cycle. Two dangerous players that you really do not want to pick up a massive amount of souls here.
Quick read on the situation, at least, to stop them stealing too much of the jungle. Grouping's still there, and you've got the backup from the wrap over as well. 10 seconds on the lasso could make a bit of a difference. Crackshot primed and ready, looking for an opportunity to swing in on that one. Guardian claim, secured the soul, don't need to overcommit. They're not going to try and defend aggressively. You don't have to waste the ultimates. Just reposition back over and look for the next target. Focus now on that mid lane Guardian.
And a rescue boom. A little bit of chip damage backwards, but nothing too much. At the moment, restorative shot as well on board. Oh, everyone's got rescue beams once again. Very creative. Very fun. But overall, good damage. ABL knocking everyone down. Not too much more than that. Not enough to find huge amount of success. Nice use of the jump pad into ground strike. Yeah, both teams at the moment kind of chilled out. Right now, 5k ahead for one win. It's not a gigantic lead, but they're looking to push a little bit further. Rage maxed out here for the shift. Cycle in a very dangerous position at the moment. They're looking to just shut him down as fast as possible. In comes York, gets cancelled somehow.
The fight over the bridge buff was really turned into pandemonium quite quickly. Everyone throwing fists. Paradox will swap onto the lash, drops him into the cavern, straight down, and more damage done. 3 frags off the back of that. Actually quite a nice cleanup. Even got the spot on the B-bot, just trying to clamber his way back to safety as quick as he can. So you've got a little bit of map control now. You know, marginal time to work with, but it can make a world of difference. They're going to run the urn on the back of the Sinclair, the magnificent Sinclair himself. Put respect on the name with some of the plays that we've seen in lane initially. Of course, Wraith nearby being the only real line of defense for him.
It's good heads up. I mean, they saw the Lash come out, Lash ult come out. They saw the Kelvin Dome come out as well. There's no Hyper Beam, which generally is pretty horrible to play against when you're placing the urn inwards. So this is a fantastic time to go for it. Iron Wall as well into the Paradoxical swap will slow the Wraith down. Prevent from getting any kind of telekinesis over towards the point itself. In the meantime, ABL just going Secco mode on them.
Ball cam. You get the POV. Running them down. Just consistently harassing and keeping it really feeling comfortable to actually extend too far for map control. Meanwhile, they're still tracking this Wraith. They've had the eyes off. Paradox has been so frustrating with the way she's playing right now. Getting nice timing off with the combo time and time again. Ooh. He's hoping for a zip line in. Gets the shot, full commit through the wall with the bomb under the walker. And gets out of the stomp radius to burst damage back on. Nice.
It's always such a pleasure watching good Paradox players. The movement they have is silly. I think it awakens something in you when you're playing Paradox. Makes you think you're Leviathan.
You really become part of Paradox in that moment. Insane stuff though. Great use for the choreography. Timing was perfect. Good knockdown as well on the Flambeau. Tries to get the parry out from it. All gets a little bit awkward, but of course just waiting for the golden moment of the execute. And that's where it comes in. Force the back towards the TP as well. Looking for the extra burst damage. Meanwhile, back over at Broadway. Nice tracing. And get the adjustment shot off. And that's going to shut down the pocket. So a further frag there to at least try and hold on towards blue.
Yeah, you see one win trying to eke out a little bit of control over the map here. Get a bit more done. I mean, they've already been able to take 2 walks off the back of that, which is pretty damn good. Again, especially if you're running with the Warden, who's currently at 14k, you want to try and use that ultimate to do as much damage as possible. So picking over towards Blue Guardian, because again, you're trying to hold on to this as much as possible, because as soon as that opens up, it does create a little bit more space on the map for the enemy team to work with. And again, the longer you have that up, the more difficult the game becomes. I mean, Ayano has been really struggling to get off any successful lassos, and I think if you look at this gameplay compared to what we saw earlier from Fremont, you can see that he's struggling without the help of Sanya to set up a lot of these lasso moments. So again, I think Holiday, you really cannot afford to get behind in the early game, and that's exactly what happened to Fearless Furies.
It's a nice lead to work with right now in terms of the net worth and how they've been playing it, not really leaving too many opportunities for missteps and a way back in for Fearless Furies. Just keep them always feeling uncomfortable in these engagements. Ooh, drop down on the top. Good play once again. Gets it off seamlessly into the carbine, looking for the right chance to hit the shot. Ooh, good decision making as well. Prioritizes the right target. Clean shot. That's another one. I mean, it's a trade of kills, but timing's going to be better on the respawn for Xenon. Up in 6 seconds. Lash tries to delay on the push, trying to get out with his bag, but that's not going to be happening. The purse is dropped, and they will claim it. Slapping everyone with the last stand. Absolutely eating them. He wants the execute, but he's been grabbed, but he can't get up.
Oh, what amazing teamwork. The tornado to delay into the hex as well, and then slapping those ankles. Right on the Achilles heel, man. That's tough. Appa Cycle. He had eyes for only one man, and one man only, and that was Empty Dreams.
Green Walker is under attack.
Boy, oh boy. Well, Spirit Buff being claimed by the Warden. Always
That's big, by the way.
Yeah, Empty Dreams will love that one, bud.
I'm out of here.
Oh, you gotta hate to see that.
It does.
I'd be raging. I actually would be raging.
It's alright. Rescue bid.
Lasso comes through. Definitely hits someone. But they're so preoccupied right now with the Sinclair that it's technically a good moment to run the urn, but I think they're going to come back in for this.
Here's the grand finale.
I mean, he throws it out just in case with a defensive ult. Would have caught them on the push through, but didn't get much back from it. Absolutely zilch, in fact. And again, that's now another 2 pickups back onto him. So Fearless Furies really struggling to find much of an ample opportunity to feel comfortable inside of the mid-game right now. 16 minutes in, a whole load of pressure mounting round towards blue lane. They can dive on top of the Walker, clear that one out quite quickly. We've got the push round towards Earnside as well. They're split in the defense. Looking for the nice Paradox going back in. Good shot across. Slow the Lash. Quick swap. Ooh, the stun on the knock-up. If you can get on the bounce pad, at least launch himself line, try and get out. Rescue Beam will buy him a bit of time, but they're still going for this one. Viscous Bolt, knocking them up. The Carbine comes back up off cooldown and looking to slow them down, but they really are cooling this one down now. As Kelvin throws out the frozen shelter, you got the backup rolling over. Bomb damage stacking. Lash launches his way in, and they scarper.
Yeah, quick turnaround there from one win, being able to get out from that one. You do really like, I think the big thing that Overseas is currently doing on this Paradox is it's just great timing on the Carbine, right? Not always just unleashing it straight away. As soon as we saw Arian try and go for the Mantle, right? As soon as he went for the Mantle, hit him with the Carbine at that point, and that does slow him down something proper. You know, trying to get out, does get hit by the Telekinesis. This should be a free kill here, I would say.
Mirage, no Oasis for you in this situation. Oh, straight back in, causing so many issues with the use of the kit right now. Constantly frustrating with the short cooldowns as well. You can just be a mischief maker, the Loki on the server. Always causing problems. Trying to track her down if they can, but too little too late. Hits the bounce pad, pieces out, gets back towards safety. It's not worth the risk of overstepping the mark. Rash does have the ultimate once again. Fine, looking to make up for missed time with the last use. Smooth movement for the adjustment. Ooh, you get the lasso off for the grab. Let's see if they can make something from this.
There is the catch, but that's about it. Not much capitalized off the back of it. Right now, Fearless Furies, they are living, you know. Rescue beams all in effect at the moment. Running out of barrels here, though. Punch on the side, gets stunned up, a lot of damage done. Frozen Shelter forced to be pulled out early. Good rescue beam on towards Xenon, gets him back into a position where he can continue just to hit those shots. And a steal onto Death Slam. Should be a pickup on towards Ethelfine. Apocycle goes down 2. That's 2 picked up in the process. Maybe one more here.
Blessing in disguise with a 15-second cooldown, still ticking away at least with Binding Word, but it won't matter. Slapping at the heels, you force them off. So many dead at this point, really 2 players alive. It's just the telekinesis really being the only useful thing you have in that situation. You can dive on the mid-boss with everyone being there. Running the risk of going for something a little bit cheeky maybe if you get the hook off from the sideline, but not worth what you put into it.
And the Warden's got unstoppable as well. I think they learned their lesson last time.
Yeah.
Not going to pop it though. Not necessary. I think this is realistically where the last game would have spiraled out of control for Fearless Furies if it wasn't for that incredible comeback over towards mid-pit.
Well played.
It's a good lead. Map control galore. Ooh, balling out of control on the roll-in. Does eke them out of the base with more commit round towards that York side, looking to put the pressure back and at least repel what they think could be the oncoming assailants. Relatively split at the minute though, just farming, making sure to maximize buffs up as well. You've got gun buff spawned in there, throw that one across. And you can afford to take your time with this. I mean, you've got the rejuve lane's going to be pushing out. Don't run any risks. They've been playing a really clean game from this point.
I think with the Rejuvenate, they could risk trying to hand in this urn. And it is a little bit risky, especially with Death Slam being in play. But you've got Unstoppable on Warden at this point, so he's not going to be flung back at all. Very, very nice. And we'll just go for it right now. And it should be a cleanup. I mean, they do get the dome off, and that will isolate him for quite some time. There is a slight clapback over towards Overseas.
Lash belly gang now being knocked all over the shop, but jumps back onto the rope and tries to make his maneuver. Quick reposition thrown out. The cape will allow Pocket to fling up. Try and do a bit more damage on this one. 2 players left alive with it in a horrible spot. Lash so low as well. Vexing Bolt slapping in the back of your head. But more importantly now, you just have that freedom to put all the pressure on either lane. Take out these base guardians, set yourself up for so much rubble left in the base.
I mean, they still have Paradoxal, I was going to say. Goes through, does pick up Apocycle. If they can get him down here, it will be massive for them. But in the meantime, they do take down Ethelfine, which is lovely. Brambles ult up and available, so could steal something. Someone will get stolen, but immediately kidnapped right back. The rescue beam. And there's the last 2. Been stolen away. We'll find a Yano. Bad timing on that. 47 seconds on the respawn. That is rough.
Really dominant game there. I mean, one win just felt like they went from strength to strength the entire time. Great control of the game. Really dominant lanes. Mid-game looked brilliant for them. And in the end, that is going to be a victory for one win. That's going to be a 2-0 series as well. A lot of splits today, Blank, but one win are going to be able to close it out. Like we said, we should be dubbing them 2-win because that is a lovely 2-0 to round out our 3rd matchup of the day.
And they'll take it. I mean, to be honest with you, for one win, we expected them to get a 2-0 here. I think let's put it all on the cards right now. Is that I think Fearless Furies, they actually put up a really good fight versus one win. I think that it was not an easy team to play into whatsoever, but I think they did a good job regardless. Overseas was some very slick plays today, though. I think he was feeling very, very good. And luckily for you guys at home, you do get to watch them once again. Coming up just after this series versus Drakkar. ZP as well as Zombie Group will be taking you through all of that for the next 4 matches. But overall, it's been really fun. Been very, very fun. I think we saw some standout teams today because it's nice to see a bit more of that closeness, a bit of an edge to these matches in these tournaments for Deadlock.
Yeah, no, it's good to see how close of a competitive nature a lot of these games were, where it felt like, there was sort of key definable moments in a lot of these where, as much as the scoreline sort of do reflect 1-1, even in the space of that 30-minute game, it was far tighter with an ebb and flow where you could see the progression. It's been interesting, but I think we actually did get some sick games out of this. Glad we got to cast the matchups we got from this one. We got the highlights, of course, from this map that's just played out, and there was a whole lot of them. Again, the entire day's been so scrappy, which I'm not complaining about, man. It's been very fun. Oh, yeah.
I really love that play, like the dash back into open air to hit him with the paradoxical swap. I mean, honestly, Overseas is kind of one of the names that sort of got overshadowed when ABL was just running a lot of the servers back in the day, but he is a massive component of the squad on 1win, so really happy to see him find a lot of success in these 2 matches and be able to cover it as well. But yeah, overall, very, very fun. I think we can see definitely the metas, kind of like what the metas are right now within Deadlock, especially in this 1win tournament. We're seeing a lot of Wardens, we're seeing a lot of holiday pickups, and Viscous seems to be very heavily prioritized. I mean, he did 25k damage. He was only 1k behind Empty Dreams there on the Warden. But yeah, overall, very good game. Very quick game though, 22 minutes.
Yeah, far shorter, a lot more dominant. This series, I think outside of, like we were saying before, the iconic reduced steal that was pulled off, even with the poor stature of ults they had available, I don't think it would have been as close as it was, which is, it's interesting, really, how this is shaped up for the Furies. I think they showed a lot of chutzpah with the way they've been playing today, though, and it's been nice to see the talent that they can bring out. 1win just really playing to a different level. Great understanding of the game. Some of the overall damage we were seeing there as well, where it felt like you could kind of pass the baton from any one of them, and they would still be able to deliver on that one blank. You're right, though, bud. I'm loving the fact that Warden's getting more and more airtime. He just goes unreal right now. The lockdown, the flask, and just mid-game gun. Like it just goes off. You just melt through everything.
It's that hybrid capability on him, right? Where the last stand at the moment is very, very strong. But then he kind of transitions very well into like a massive amount of gun damage later as well. Not only that, but just not having to worry too much about spirit and bullet resist because you get a lot of that built in anyway.
Yeah, no, it's been sick. But there you have it, guys. That's the first 3 BO2s of the day for 1win Bombshell Vol.6. And of course, our greatest hits will continue when we come back after a brief break with ZP and Zombie Grub guiding you through the next 4 games. So don't go anywhere, because we will know.
We'll be watching.
Breakdown.
Welcome back, everyone, to One Win Bombshell Vol.6. We got $10,000 up for grabs across this 6-day tournament, and you've already witnessed 3 of the matches in our group stage. I'm Zomberg up here with ZP. Our next match is going to include familiar face. We do have One Win versus now Drakkar after they took a 2-0 over Fearless Furies. And now some of these teams we see a decent amount in the Deadlock Fight Nights, which ZP I know you're familiar with. So go ahead and break down what you think is going to happen in this upcoming match.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting. Again, to me, the big storyline coming into this is, can One Win team find their footing meta-wise? Because they had that period of greatness in March where, you know, they were essentially winning just about everything, nearly taking away, I think, One Win Bombshell Volume 4 away from VP, just missing out by one map. But then, you know, there was the patch right before the item shop patch where One Win has kind of been struggling to find their footing and, you know, getting back into the rhythm. You know, they've changed things up a little bit so far draft-wise, even including things like a Vindicta that you normally see in NA. So, you know, I think for One Win, the stakes are pretty much, okay, you know, can we be a strong team that'll be able to take the fight back to Abrahams and Virtus Pro? Meanwhile, if you're Drakkar, new team on the block, a few familiar faces to be had here. You know, players like Piggy, where oftentimes like Piggy is the harbinger of a team doing really well, but then Piggy somehow leaves the team despite playing really well, you know, going all the way back to the days where he used to be in the original Virtus Pro team. So I'm excited to see what Drakkar has to show here today, where, you know, for them, the stakes are just, look, if you want to be a top team in Deadlock, you kind of go for One Win first here, because if you can't beat One Win as kind of the trio of top EU teams, are you going to be able to take the fight to the other top teams in the region?
Yeah, there's definitely some expectations coming into Volume 6 about who is going to end up in that final weekend, for instance, actually participating and trying to go for that number 1 prize victory. And our eyes are kind of on that Abrahams VP. One Win has been able to throw a couple of fists, but as you said, that patch really changed things up for them. And now it's about trying to collect themselves, get a familiar feeling with what they want to do, and then bring it not just to some of these teams that are a little more of the pickup groups, kind of combining together for this tournament, but actually for the well-established teams that we will be seeing later today as well. So we're going to get into the draft. I got Drakkar on the left, One on team on the right, and already starting off with a couple of bans. Warden banned for Drakkar, and Calico, either ban or first pick, right? It's going to be banned for One Win.
Yeah, I mean, One Win kind of took one look at it, says, okay, we don't actually want to deal with Calico. EU, even though we did see Calico a little bit earlier today, overall, EU, especially among the top teams, very much on the train of, we do not want to play against that hero, get that hero out of here. So in response, Drakkar, they take away Warden, who's oftentimes like picked in the first 2 because there's another really good frontliner that's going to give you, you know, decent damage all the way through the mid game. And in response, though, One Win team, they come back here and they go Viscus, who was getting banned a whole lot last week, now is getting more play and still a valuable pick, and Mirage, who suddenly is back on top. It's so weird how we went through a period where, you know, Mirage, who is probably the most consistent top pick in Deadlock over history, had a period the last few weeks where he's getting picked like 4th or 5th in the draft, and now all of a sudden we come back to his like, oh yeah, this guy with really good left click damage, really good early laning. Yeah, as it turns out, we want to pick him early in the draft again. So week to week, the draft always changing here in Deadlock.
I always feel like there was not enough Viscus. He was getting banned a lot of the time, but now seeing him back in his really poorly ways, it's nice to see. It's a grab for One Win. I mean, some standard picks going down, right? Like this is Viscus not getting banned, but Calico definitely getting banned. Warden taken out of the equation, which does seem to make an appearance very often. We're just getting the picks actually, I guess simultaneously, aren't we? So Pocket
Yeah.
for Drakkar and 1-win team. Going for the Magician. Is that fairly early on, or is that something that you like to see?
I mean, it's a little bit early. I mean, Sinclair in general has been good. I mean, you kind of look at 1-win. 1-win is definitely overall they have like a lot of early lane power, and also you kind of look at how the mid stage bans went out here. We're still waiting for Drakkar's mid stage ban, but Drakkar had the option of going Shiv Kelvin, but getting the combo in one go isn't as valued at times nowadays as getting other picks that you see as a higher priority. I think getting the Pocket a little bit earlier versus 1-win team makes sense, given the fact that while we haven't seen as much of it, it's still a team that historically when they were doing well, they were actually getting a lot of mileage off the Pocket, so they decided to get through the mid-stage bans. 1-win team, though, instead go, okay, we're going to take down the Shiv. We don't really want to deal with you potentially having a Shiv Kelvin combo. We'll see what Drakkar bans in turn. I mean, I'm half curious to see if they target something more on the front line, because you look at 1-win team right now, they have like essentially nothing frontline wise, and it's a little bit dangerous with what's been hit. But okay, they take away Holiday, so instead that leaves 1-win team open to go Yamato, which is kind of silly. Just okay, do you ban the Yamato in this case? 1-win goes for it, which they're completely okay with, whether it be Zanya or ABL on the Yamato.
Okay. Yeah, the Holiday banned out. So we have been seeing more Paradox lately after she also kind of disappeared for a little while.
Yep.
Holiday was more preferred. But I'm personally happy as I've been Paradox quite a bit. But then what's the response going to be here for Drakkar? So a little more of the front line coming in for one team with the Yamatos. Nice pick. What is Drakkar going to need?
Well, right now, I think this is where you kind of look at their draft and go, okay, what are you going to get in terms of range damage here? This is usually where you think about what's getting picked. Wraith is still on the board, and Furnace is still on the board. And, in the next two picks, I would kind of expect that to come out here, because you've already gotten Geist for your front line. You got Kelvin to back it up. That's probably along the draft where I'm going, like something along those lines. I mean, Wraith to me feels like one of the more obvious pickups you can go here. Well, that's kind of interesting. Like earlier in 1-win here, we're seeing Wraith getting banned out quite a bit more in the mid stage. Did get picked earlier in a few maps. So Wraith is a little all over the place after item shop wise. There's a period where she was getting like highly first picked, first banned, and still settling around. There's also the world where you get something like a Vindicta, but I'd expect that more of 1-win team than Drakkar, at least at this point.
Yeah, right. The NA pick, and except that 1-win has actually been choosing her too. So still waiting on that. Just bringing up the list of potentials. I kind of feel the Wraith as well, but we're taking a decent amount of time in our choices.
Yeah, production wise, it always depends on like what the players are doing, and here it's kind of gone here and there, where sometimes you'll get picks a bit by bit, or the teams will decide we want to pick really fast, and the update will hit, and it's everything. And, okay, interesting enough.
I was never gonna guess this.
Saying, yeah, 7's been a little bit less valued overall, but okay, coming Vindicta 7, that is super, super interesting. I do think 1-win is probably going to respond with at least a Wraith on the other side for their final two picks, but frontline wise, it may just be Yamato for where they decide to hold on here. It's when you look at how teams like Melee Creeps have played too on the NA side, there's kind of two schools of thought. Like at times teams will stack the deck with a lot of frontline. We've seen teams multiple times here today try and do like Shiv, Yamato, Geist, which is probably a little bit too much frontline turn, too many mouths to feed. And then other times teams will go, okay, we'll just have like a Warden, and we'll do like grab Mirage and Furnace, and we can actually make that work. So the schools of thought how to do it are way more variable in this patch than it's been in the past.
Yeah, it's a lot of figuring out. I mean, a whole deadlock's going to consistently be like that, isn't it? Never going to have a settled meta for a while. And they were right to call it the Wraith. It's the first thing you brought up that they would go for. They do.
Yeah, the Wraith coming in, not too much of a surprise here. So yeah, I mean, 1-win team, I'm just curious what they round up at the end. I mean, also, you could go in with something like an Ivy. It's kind of, Ivy's been a weird spot where there was a period of time meta-wise where you'd be like, okay, you'll have Kelvin always, and if you don't get the Kelvin, you see the Ivy in there then in terms of what you're going to run support-wise. Viscous, of course, kind of varies between, like, do you want to play it more on the support end or more frontliner, where that's been varied up. But also 1-win has had periods where you take a look, they don't have a they could go Paradox here, they could also go Bebop, because initiation a little bit lacking for where 1-win team is at. And truthfully, same for Drakkar, so I'm kind of looking more towards a playmaker end for final picks to round things out here.
What about a Lash?
Yeah, Lash is also potentially on the dock. Although, times it's picked like a little bit earlier, but okay, Drakkar ending with Abrams is interesting. Abrams has been a little bit out of vogue, but the initiation Drakkar is going to be rough. And one win team, meanwhile, they decide, okay, no, we actually like Bebop, so interesting.
Yeah, we're calling for the initiation, but the Bebop coming out, I mean, it seems to be getting more popular, I suppose, as the days go on, as the tournaments go on. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that the frontline Abrams to come out for Drakkar, but we got ourselves our settled picks here. And how do you think that the goals now line up for each team? What is going to be the kind of the goal of Drakkar's team, the way that they've set up here? We're talking about that lack of initiation, and they didn't really grab anyone who has that. So what can they do as the game drags on?
Yeah, I mean, Drakkar's kind of weird. It's like, as they go into like mid-game team fights, ideally you're just hoping Pocket like lands the biggest ults of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have Geist who's like generally powerful throughout the game. Meanwhile, one win team by comparison have a more, I mean, they're going to be looking to funnel farm in the Yamato and Wraith for the large period of it. But ideally in the early and mid game, clutching more so on Viscous, Sinclair, and Bebop to make things happen, particularly what happens in the Bebop lane. In terms of early to mid game power, it's actually, I look at, there is a little bit of an edge to Drakkar if they don't fall behind. Like, if they fall behind, their ability to get back in the game with lack of initiation is going to be really tough, especially if the Abrams ends up falling behind, where it's like, it's kind of one of the downsides of picking Abrams at times, that Abrams actually has to be kept up in farm or, turns into a very non-factor. So they're going to have to, mid-game wise, it'll be interesting. I think a lot kind of depends on Pocket and how Pocket's going to be going in.
Yeah, it's a big point, right? If the Affliction is fantastic, then that can get the ball rolling on any group fight. But to actually be able to get in every single time, get more than, let's say, 2 people, at least 3 with the Affliction, has been proving difficult in deadlock matches. The Bebop, obviously going to be nice to actually take out 7 from the sky. I mean, to certainly Vindicta as well. Get her out of the sky as well. I'm just looking at the amount of stuns that are available or holds, and thinking about how that can work out for the one-win team. Telekinesis might be able to capture Pocket before he gets close. And we're just thinking about the dynamics as we also are waiting for the game to actually get set up and determine who actually is going to be laning against each other as well. To make things clear, one-win team is going to be, I think, the favorite in our eyes with their history. But Drakkar, I mean, we're kind of looking for those pickup teams to come together and give us a couple of surprises. As you put it in the beginning of the draft, is that one-win team need to prove they can take out likes of Drakkar so that they can move forward and look to VP and Abrahams. Whereas Drakkar, this is maybe one of their first biggest tests. And then they got to face VP, I believe, right after this. So that'll be tough.
Drakkar's getting like the harsh baptism. It was like, oh, we go against one-win team. Okay, that's a little bit tough. Oh, we have to go against VP after. Oh, dear Lord. Like, I mean, but also, look, newer team, end of the day, you got to get through these teams if you want to have a chance of placing well later in the tournament. Looking at this too, yeah, I mean, for one win right now, again, it's kind of margin of victory where, one win is looking to just position themselves, be like, okay, we actually want to have a good even fight against Abrahams and VP later on, where they've been struggling, where it's like they've never really gotten blown out in recent weeks, but it's clear that footing wise they're still trying to figure out what is going to work. But also I will say one thing that's a little interesting about the 7 pick coming out from Dakar, I wonder if like one win team was kind of expecting it from the get-go, because you talk about like ideal targets to use Sinclair ult on, people oftentimes think of Warden, but a clone Stormcloud is probably number 2 on the list for where that's at. So like the possibility of getting like massive Sinclair value is very much there for right now for one win.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, with 7 not being chosen in some of these series, we haven't really talked about that being stolen, but that's always a fun one to steal. And then, you can get a good Affliction too. There's definitely Sinclair has proven his worth as far as the picks. Yes, that is my cat. Yes, he does like my mic. Yes, that is why the mic is furry. It doesn't take a lot of logic for that one. But anyways, Sinclair has just proven to be fantastic, right? I mean, you guys talk about it all the time. Just the Vexing Bolt is a little tricky to use, but not necessarily as highlight anyway. Talking about the Hex, talking about getting them little rabbits, throwing them away, being able to take care of it. And then also the steal, the audience participation, and have such a drastic effect in some of these team fights. Feels so difficult to use if you're going to try and be a Sinclair main. But when it comes to the pro teams and the communication, obviously, that they're actually throwing out, I mean, it just seems like a vital pick. We do finally have to go. we're going to introduce yourselves to this match. Jakar versus One Win. Looking at One Win as the favorites. What can Jakar do to prove us wrong in this best of two?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I didn't touch on too much too is that, you know, anytime you play Vindicta, you're hoping that the Vindicta has a pretty good game starting from Assassinate being available, because, you know, the style of Vindicta has changed over time, where Vindicta used to be, you know, more in the, oh, this is going to be hard carry of the team, whereas now it's rare that ever see Vindicta as the most farmed in a pro game, but, you know, ideally when Assassinate is online, you know, you win your lane a little bit earlier, clear the Guardian, then have more ability to run. But yeah, taking a look at the lane situation here, you know, immediately taking a look over on the mid lane, you're going to have Mirage Bebop, which honestly, you know, for One Win, they ran this lane earlier, and it's generally pretty good, because even if Bebop's having a difficulty landing, like, Mirage is still going to be preventing you from getting, like, absolutely rolled on denies, and still applying pretty good lane pressure.
We are currently witnessing the Geist battle. Change of vision over. Is it Abrams getting involved? In fact, heavily involved. Vindicta does not have her assassinate this early on, so this cube can also save the day, which is exactly what happens. Until the assassinate comes out, those low units coming, or units. Sorry, StarCraft is showing the low characters running backward is going to be completely safe. That is what the big concern is when that ult does come online. And actually, Wraith getting very, very low. Some problematic positions for the side of Drakkar on the right lane in particular. Both characters very, very low. And yes, we do see that Flammable went after the low Geist, is able to find the first pick in this game.
Yeah, I mean, both sides got very, very low on the right-hand side, and it was just kind of those things where they nearly overdove in the tower. Wraith nearly bit the end for it, and then they were just able to back out a little bit. They were still low, comes back in, ends up with the pick off. But yeah, it's turning out to be a pretty aggressive Wraith Sinclair lane there. And I mean, overall, I think on paper, you kind of look at that, expect the Geist Delta lane to be a little bit ahead, but still, I think any lane Sinclair is in is that if you step out of line, it's really easy to get punished by Vexing Bolt early on. But,
yeah, if it lands, it can do some serious damage. The trick is, of course, getting it to land. Be a bit troublesome.
Looking back here at mid, and yeah, I mean, again, this is the storyline of any Bebop lane, right? It's like hit hook, good lane, don't hit hook, not as good lane. But I mean, I think the fact that you pair up the Mirage there, you know, gives you a little bit of stability.
That was a very aggressive Spectral Assistant. Also not going to be able to teleport away using it like that, but thinking that they can continue the pressure on that lane, looking for the Guardian. Jakar, meanwhile, on the left side, also doing some good damage here. This Guardian getting down to half health as the Abrams and Vindicta were kind of bullied back. Abrams needs to wait for that to actually recover and be back on the front lines, but certainly some trouble being shown on the side of Drakkar, as a lot of lanes, I mean, they're getting pushed. One Win, being very aggressive, feeling it, picking up the momentum, and just pushing every which way that we look. We can see on the mini-map, One Winner just being so aggressive and getting away with it.
Also, ABL, I mean, is definitely going to be playing a way more mobile Viscous. Oh boy, they got Abrams on top. So this is actually a double pain here, where not only is Drakkar probably about to lose left Guardian, not only is your Abrams getting behind, where Abrams is one of the most farm-sensitive heroes in the game, that having an impact later on, but now you're, like, after losing the Guardian, you're going to see ABL take more initiative to go around the map and just leave a lot of this farm here to be funneled into Zambia.
Things are still looking troublesome. It seems to be the tale of the first 4 minutes for Drakkar, as Piggy does go down as well. All the Guardians are in some trouble. And one Bebop hook here in the mid could actually change this completely. Or even the Hyper Beam, actually. The Hyper Beam might do the trick. We haven't even Sport 7 actually not able to come in and take advantage of maybe a Hyper Beam pushing them out of position. It's the Mirage instead that's coming in, going for the kill. Almost getting on top of that pocket. A tether, though, coming out. Makes it complicated for Bebop to continue helping. But Mirage did the trick. Cosmetical going down as that pocket, opening up the opportunity for the Guardian as well. Further, as we have everyone, it feels like everyone, coming in for a 1 win to the mid Guardian, ensuring that defeat. On the right side, it looks like maybe the Kelvin and Geist are able to hold their own for a while, but it feels like it is just holding on at this point. This Guardian is goner.
And what you're getting there, I mean, this is the impact of what happened in left lane, where you lose the lane early with the Abrams lane, and now the Viscous is freed up to go over the middle. You're giving full free farm over the Zanya, so the Amato's starting to get big. You're looking to snowball that into getting mid Guardian right on after, and ABL, you take a look at positioning. ABL's also probably going to be going into yellow jungle pretty soon also and getting extra where he can, whether he boxes or neutral creeps. So, I mean, this is kind of the stage where Drakkar has to be very careful, or it is just going to start snowballing wildly out of control, even more so than the 7K that it's already at.
Yes, and that is, I think, worth noting. 5.5 minutes in, a 7K difference already just does not bode well as the pressure mounts. Drakkar even forced to now be like just permanently defending a walker. Right, like that's not able to help out with the 7 and other lanes, which the mid lane, it was actually pushed back. That did not end in a quick Guardian kill, but actually is turning around a little bit more than that. 2 people from 1win going down, maybe opening up some opportunities, starting to bridge the gap in the souls as well. But I think the point about Abrams is still handling strong, right? That's going to be concerning the more that they're not able to get that farm in, able to really make a presence known in the game. And we do have yet another 1win character going down. So Flammable, maybe a little over-aggressive right there. And maybe making some moves for Drakkar to get a return. Because they have not taken out any Guardians right now. All of their Guardians are officially done, taken down, out of the equation. And that feels a little scary unless they can get a really great fight going. This Hyper Beam is clearing things out. I'm not going to let that happen on the right side.
I need your help.
I mean, 1win, they're going to rotate back over to the right side as things were getting a little bit messy there. And ABL, I mean, is basically be Mr. Fix-It here. We're highly roaming on the Viscous. Again, you take a look at left, it's just been the quiet Yamato versus 7 lane, which I think truthfully between the two, it's a trade that feels better for a 1win team. But okay, you got the rotation over there, Pocket coming on in, and Zanny, I think, would have enough clearance to get away here. Still Shout transformation in tow. Still under pressure here from Pocket. Gonna have to pop it. Actually in real danger. Lightning Ball up over the top. Tries to get a little bit of life steal. Not going to happen. So Cosmetical off the rotation. A little bit of life for Drakkar, where even coming in this, people was like, okay, Cosmetical Pocket. Is this going to be it? And actually not looking too bad here so far, and helping keep Drakkar afloat.
Things have actually settled a little bit more. We got this pushback from Drakkar after it felt like, I mean, all the Guardians did actually go down, but they're starting to push back, able to obviously save the Walkers. That wasn't a quick pick, which would have been very ill-boding for the future. And while the Souls are obviously still in favor of 1win, we are seeing those signs of life, able to take back some of these engagements. And even really getting, I feel like, a decent amount of momentum from those early engagements. Those earlier takedowns for 1win characters going down has given life to Drakkar as they start to push into this Guardian. The cube need to be used to try and help out. So are we going to be actually able to take it down? We're going to just focus it? Not so much. Telekinesis comes through. Varric in some trouble. Rescue Beam and a Frozen Shelter is going to be able to save her day, Wraith's day. And they'll come back again later as the ball goes on rolling. They might need to retreat a little bit more. We have another fight going down as Drakkar loses 2. The 7 in Pocket taken down. The chase still on from the Wraith as well. They have pushed that right lane well and truly forward. And things have once again favored us for 1win, who get up 8k, and are now eyeing the Walker yet again on the left side. That was pushed pretty severely a couple of minutes ago, once again, but it looks like they're going to opt for that farm for a while and not make any bold pushes towards a Walker this early on.
Well, I mean, what's happening on left lane right now is that Zanya has just been able to just stay in left lane perma, and realistically speaking, in the matchup right now, Blob is not able to directly deal with Zanya here. So repeatedly, Drakkar has to pull someone out there, whereas 1win is more than willing at times here to just leave Zanya there for free farm. Zanya, though, taking a little bit of time to the jungle. And yeah, I mean, 52k to 45k. Looking at the general income situation right now, 1win is getting farm on the people that need it between the Yamato, the Mirage, and the Wraith. And Drakkar kind of running out of options to get good plays here in the mid game. They don't have like your classic initiation to go along with it. And I'm glad the camera's on Captain right now, because this is one of the people here where you look at potential of Abrams Vindicta combos, where by the way they didn't even run the Abrams Vindicta lane. That's, we'll see where it goes here, but ideally need to catch something and make something happen sooner rather than later. And okay, this may be a start. Zanya on the run.
Yeah, that's the start. Zanya forced to use that ultimate to try and at least do something in return. Not going to happen, however. I think Captain was caught out in the mid on the right side as Empty Dreams gets that pick. And Wraith can be an assassin for sure, moving around there. More of a fight on into the left. Okay, Mirage has someone in their sights. Blob does go down. Frozen Shelter to try and buy some time and save the day. That is a lot of pressure onto the left side. Abrams, Captain trying to come back after the revive, trying to save the left side Walker from going down. A little bit of pressure from the mid from Drakkar is being handled as well, so that Guardian is going to be saved. It's only one Guardian down, in fact, for Drakkar at this current moment, as they are being forced further and further back, relying on the Walker really to hold here, which is all well and good, but the Walker is also getting awfully low, below half health, now at a fourth. Now we get a little fight inside of this farm area. At that Walker, what's it at? It's almost dead. They could actually target it down. Seems to be the play here, actually. Mirage, wow, even go for the Hurricane into the Walker to ensure that death might lead to their own death as well, unless they can make some magic happen and escape. Down to 12, 13 health, running away. Did they juke? No. Well, actually, it might have juked a little bit. The 7 ult we're paying attention to right now is Blob tried to help. It looks like Piggy did take out Xenon, despite missing him for a second right there. And then elsewhere, we had Cosmetical on the pocket fall too. So, I mean, not exactly clean, was it? And you also did lose the Walker, so just kind of a double loss right there for Drakkar.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually funny. I thought for sure he was going to go for the Traveler a little bit sooner there. Like, there's a chance where they just drop by, but also Sound may have given away. But yeah, I mean, that was the Walker that was getting beaten up by Zanya on the left-hand side. Eventually just go, okay, we can rotate over, go for it from there. But now Earn going to be in motion here from 1win. Not going to be the easiest to go for a turn-in and given enemy territory, but also you're starting to get to a point where the stat checks get pretty significant between the two teams. And again, kill options a little bit lacking for Drakkar if they don't like just really catch things out of guard. And okay,
Yeah.
Overseas a little bit rough thing, but ABL comes in for the save.
Yeah, Overseas
Well,
does go
he's still
down.
good now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm looking at that economy, although I do have some more fights going on, so we should focus on that for the time being. Earn play also finally in action. Dropped behind the lines, of course, as they look for a better opportunity elsewhere. Blob just barely able to survive thanks to the stun. He's going to be able to escape, but hey, the economy situations make me really concerned, because not only does Drakkar not have a lot of initiation, but then if Abram's going to try and lead the charge, okay, case in point, perfect timing. Captain is going to be able to fall so fast, not having that vitality that you really would want as you continue to lose out in the souls to lead the charge and get the ball rolling. Another Walker does go down on the right side, as Drakkar now is down to the last Walker, and is also getting defeated in this particular team battle. Hybrid New is used. Is now on cooldown, but do they need it? Seems like they're going to continue applying the pressure as we have another member of Drakkar fall. And this is just feeling like a worse and worse situation for Drakkar. The ball seems to be firmly rolling in favor of 1win. It's not just because they have the Viscous.
Also, the other thing here is that Empty Dreams is absolutely fat in terms of income allocation. Like, while you've been seeing like pretty heavy rotations coming in from 1win, yeah, and better macro play as far as pushing things down, going all the way back to thinking how a lot of the rotations started, where they won the left lane and led to ABL being able to go around the map. I mean, the Viscous has basically been in the playmaker role at times more than the Bebop here. And as a result, while all this has been going on, Empty Dreams have been able to take a lot of these fights off, get really far ahead. So on top of it for Drakkar, not only are they having trouble getting things going in these fights as it is, but all the while, like, Empty Dreams is turning into a raid boss that hasn't even really been in half of these fights.
It's the raid boss. You also got a timer trying to actually take them down. Yeah, very apt analogy. Getting worse. The ball is rolling forward. Looks like a teleport's going to be able to save our pocket here. Cosmetical alongside that rescue beam. Things calmed down a little bit. There was that Earn run. While we were talking, I was loving the analogy. Who got the Earn run?
In the Earn here. What's it called? I was looking at the analogy as is, but I think overall, I assume it was just 1win that got in.
I assume it as well.
Yeah,
considering the almost 20k difference, which is very unfortunate, because the point I was going to make prior to all of that was just that, if they can't get this earned on their side of the map, I mean, that is demoralizing. That does not feel very good. The map control very much in favor of 1win as they continue taking all of the farm as well. An attempted snipe perhaps going down on the Mirage. We heard the call out open a 3v1, but with Traveler, which is available. Oh, no, not quite, but it would have been available. Yeah, there's always that get out of jail if you think you're going to be in some trouble. So as you were saying, if they don't get picks, and it's going to be difficult to do with their composition, then what really is their goal here? Hope that the more I actually look at this, the more that I kind of wish that they'd have a Lash, just so they could try and bring them in for the Affliction and the 7, like the Wombo combo Trombo, I don't even know what you would call it at that point, but not able to do that. So it feels like all of these these characters are playing individually from each other as opposed to really getting a decent team fight. We have Captain once again in some trouble, able to survive for now. And that's good news, but Cosmetical did go down.
I mean, the other rotation is Xenon got caught, but overall, the problem that Drekar is facing right now is that some of this game is getting fully away from them, particularly looking at the Dreams already up to 23k, Bebop, full orbital laser in the top, just melting down. But the full rotation from 1-1 here, it's not really a fight Drekar's going to be able to do too much about. Like, you look at the HP, Zanya got a little bit low, is able to disengage, and Empty Dreams right now just tons of room to clean up the remainder. Does not care that he got put in the freezer, just overwhelming at this point. So this is going to be another earn run where, I mean, 1-1 is just going to be able to go pretty much directly over. There's not going to be a lot of resistance.
No, there isn't. But an Abrams inside the frozen shelter and still getting burned down is there's absolutely nothing. Certainly a large of that portion of that is 24k. Empty Dreams currently on the raid, able to burn down things so quickly. The mid boss call has been made. And while we are about to have everyone up for Drakar, they are not necessarily in position to try and contest this. They are hovering around mid. We do have 7 going in. Going to try and get a stun to start things off. Rest of the team, Affliction going to be happening in the mid, but it is Empty Dreams capturing that Rejuvenator. So maybe you can try and take a better fight, but it really wasn't set up that way. In fact, it turns into an atrocious fight, and you didn't get the rejuve. Drakar, they were desperate. They needed something. They thought there was a chance, and now it is just all 1-win team.
Okay, I look at Drakar going into that, and that's just, wait, why have you done this? It really, like, I get the entire, like, okay, you're going to be further behind with that steal, but are you really trying to steal Rejuvenator from a team with, that's playing Sinclair, that has Yamato, when all your ults that you could use to steal, like Frozen Shelter and Seismic Slam, are on cooldown? I mean, the odds of that going well were so ridiculously low that, realistically speaking, though behind, may have been better off just trying to defend back at base. But I think he just like accepted their fate. For a second, I thought it was a disconnect, but there was no disconnect. I was like, okay, the Piggy DC. No, he's just like, send me home. Just send me.
Yep. I think we've all had those moments. But I think you're right. I think the likelihood was extremely low, but that's why I chose the word desperate. You know, I think they just, maybe they were hoping there was maybe overconfidence, you know, maybe not as many people were on the mid as it should be or something, but not really the case. We got that Magician Steal on the 7 ults. We called out in the drafts. Those eventually get taken down and open up a terrible amount of. And it's always a fun ability and opens up a little bit. Frozen Shelter to try and take this 2-on-1. You'd think it would have worked out, but the Yamato hangs on, continues hanging on, and the rest of the team is here to help out as well. That feels bad. That Shrine's going to go down. Both Shrines looking to fall. Usually also want to be grabbing that first stage Patron as well if you can, if you're still up and strong. And in fact, they are all 6 up for 1 win. Rezzing about to happen on the rest of Drakar's team, but yeah, Patron is transforming. It's typically a time where you would back away unless the other team gets too aggressive in their desperation to try and chase after you. And then they either pick opens and you go right back in, but you can only go so far with that for Drakar, right? If someone foolish enough to stand behind for 1 win is around to pick off, fantastic. But even that's not much when they have the rejuve and they have the map pressure and they have basically everything that you could have in a deadlock game. So they are going to be forced to defend, and like I said, hope for some overconfidence, you know, some hubris to be showing, because the 39k deficit not really counting a lot of ways for Drakar to come back.
Yeah, I mean, also I will say, if any team would have decided to stay there, it may have been 1-win team because, I mean, granted, some of this is like kind of deep work here, but 1 team has never shied away from, oh, we're just gonna have like the extremely aggressive shot call and go in to the point of, you know, trying to hit the throne or hit the patron 3 times in 1 go. But in this case, 40k lead with Rejuvenator. They're going to be looking to end this here and now. Not a lot of options for Drakar. I mean, Drakar can land the biggest affliction all the time. It's not going to matter. Track's already down from the start. Storm Cloud or Copy coming on in, and yeah, this is. I mean, Storm Cloud actually, they don't respect it as much as they should. Does zone out Flammable, who ends up dying Storm v Storm, but still big advantage 1-1 here.
Yeah. The storms so close together is always a little funny to look at, but both of them taken down eventually. Trax also fell, so we're missing 2 players for Drakar's defenses, and 1 win can continue. Pushing in for the win as Captain also gets taken down. The Cube saving the ally right there. Okay, then it does go down as well, but there's some return kills. There you have it. Now only a Vin and a Pocket up and running. Affliction is not available for Cosmetical either. So can we actually go ahead and just mouse button on top of the Patron? We're desperately close to it, as the Vindicta is also within Drake's sights. Yeah, that wasn't going to last very long. Cosmetical trying to come in, seeing a very low rate, maybe trying to protect the Vindicta to a certain extent. Did not last very long. Everyone's down. Easiest kill on the Patron right now. And that is game number 1, going to 1 win. Started from the beginning, didn't it, though? Right? The pressure was entirely on Drakkar. They were having a lot of trouble holding on to their Guardians. A little bit of pushback when there was 4 people in a row kind of going down for a 1 win at one point, but it was a very limited pushback, and the rest of the game was entirely in 1-win's control.
Yeah, I mean, overall for 1 win, I mean, it was kind of straightforward in how things developed. I mean, they were able to take left lane super early and then just go, okay, Yamato, enjoy. And then ABL was able to just roam across the map, which is, I mean, what you often see with Viscous. And, part of why Viscous is highly valued is that, even though Viscous isn't quite, as hard into the playmaker role as like a Paradox or a Holiday would be, you're still going to see like really heavy Viscous roaming in the mid game if you get ahead there. So I mean, it was kind of the picture perfect setup for ABL. They were able to funnel farm into the heroes that needed it the most really well. I mean, in particular, Empty Dreams like ended up being the gigantic boss at the end, but part of the reason why Empty Dreams was able to do that was that off the snowball from what was going on in the left lane, you just had all the space in the world. So in terms of macro play, this was very, very clean coming in from 1-win team. And again, it's something that they kind of have to play up to this level if they're going to be looking to give good fights to VP and Abrahams later on in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Drakkar at all, but 1-win might be setting their sights on some revenge, right, for some previous tournaments against the upcoming teams. But then also, just, shoring up their return to form, as we've been talking about. 1-win have been down a little bit after the patches, trying to recover, maybe losing some of their YOLO-ness, as there was that potential for them to continue pushing in, get the Patron all in one go, and they did back out. And that is usually a wise thing to do unless there is a very big opening, which there wasn't. And when they came back in, yes, it was I believe it started off as a 6v6 scenario, but of course they knew exactly what their powers were in. And this very difficult team to take down at that point, down by almost 50k souls towards the end, even trying to focus fire down one character on 1-win ended up proving to be very, very difficult. Wraith with all the accolades. That's what I see every time I play her. Just kidding, absolutely not. But obviously a big portion of their win and a lot of times that they were able to burn down their opponents so fast was Wraith being involved.
Yeah, I mean, well, the interesting thing about the stat line here is that for Empty Dreams, who for a decent portion of the game was more off like channeling souls, still got in on more fights than expected, especially towards the end. And, because oftentimes like your most farmed character doesn't end up with the highest damage in the game because usually, no matter how much you do in the late game, you're just behind the rest of the game because you're not participating in as many fights. But I mean, really, when it started getting in the in-game fight territory, Empty Dreams was just absolutely crushing. And yeah, I mean, overall, draft-wise, wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the Drakkar draft, in particular the fact that they just didn't have a bunch of good initiation options. A lot of it was just hoping that you could just body check with Pocket and Vindicta would be able to compensate with Assassinates. But overall, it didn't quite work out that way. But they really were, again, things went awry is that they just lost lane way, way too hard on the left.
Yeah, not getting into a decent position even from the beginning, gonna make it complicated. And, when we bring up that kind of combination, I could definitely see that working out. You got the Affliction, maybe even the 7 ult. I mean, Invicta is kind of like free farming at that point, right, with the assassination. But it never worked out that way. I brought it up in the game, but now that we have some time to talk about it, I mean, do you think a Lash could have helped on the side of Drakkar?
I mean, Lash alone is kind of interesting. Like, Lash, I feel like, is kind of like your secondary initiate that you end up getting in there. Like, you'll see teams like run a Lash and a Holiday at times, for example, to look at times for, like, melee creeps where you can put, like, low main on Lash and then, back that up with Saya on the Holiday. I mean, it definitely helps in general have, like, the extra initiation there more so than what they had. Because, again, anytime you're running these sorts of comps where you're not running anything that can make plays. You get stuck in the situation where it's like, well, gee, I really hope I don't fall behind, because without those ults into the mid game, you really run out of options, even in like the very first earn fights, of setting fights on your terms. Like you get into the realm where you have to be like way trickier in setting it up, or just hoping that people overextend, and it gets a little bit messy if your lane phase gets messed up, which in this case it really did get messed up for Drakkar.
Yeah, so you're thinking about the draft primarily going into the second game, as there wasn't starting things off in a more even footing would obviously be great, but then with that maybe a better drafting phase too. Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Drakkar. One win seemed to have shored up some of those YOLO-ness that has gotten them in trouble before. But as we wait for the draft to come here, guys, remember that you should follow all of the socials for One Win. I think we got maybe a bot in the chat so it can help you out. Also down below on the Twitch page, as well as that nice QR code. There we go. Pop it up. Subscribe on X and continue supporting the people who are giving you some great deadlock action as we have this budding esport being a part of the early portion of it. It's kind of exciting, kind of fun. Kind of getting used to it. It also is just, it's a very unique game, isn't it? I know some people have comparisons, but Deadlock for me, one of the first new loves that I've had since my game, StarCraft, and for a lot of other people as well. So I've really enjoyed the whole process of it, seeing it develop, seeing what could be the potential, seeing the tournament organizers get involved. And yeah, One Win Bombshell, you should support them.
Yeah, I mean, look, seeing what Deadlock has brought to the table is really great, and just, merging a bunch of things, and also the QR code, which just quickly went away. I mean, look, it's funny how we've just evolved to a point of like, hey, just take a screenshot of your phone. I literally had a doctor's appointment yesterday, just overall eye checkup, and the patient portal check-in is like, oh, we're not going to give you a form. Just scan this on your phone, and I just see the receptionist holding a gigantic QR code. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to do that. But hey, the good part is you can also do it here if you want to follow the socials and give some support to a company that's really gonna have its way to provide good content here to the Deadlock scene. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see where we go in the next draft, what gets changed up for Drakkar's side. But One Win right now, still making adjustments week over week, and kind of interesting to see them at times take a few pointers from NA, but otherwise still say, yeah, Bebop is something we want to prioritize, or at the very least grab towards the end of the draft if it's still available.
And we will talk more about actual Deadlock, but I want to say that apparently your doctor's office is living in the future, because I absolutely still get handed forms. One of my friends once said like 5 years ago, they went to a dentist office where they were like, just choose anything on Netflix watch. And I was like, oh, thank God, it's going to be the future, isn't it? Like, I'll be able to not be bored out of my brains when, I'm in a dentist chair. No. I mean, I still haven't experienced that. So he just found someone special. But the technology will eventually be there, guys. It will. And it's already here on this channel. So that's good news. But yeah, it feels like there's not a lot to really discuss, honestly. I mean, maybe that's revealing a weakness to me as a commentator. Fine. But that was a really like the cut and dry game. Like, it started from the beginning, they fell behind, and then that had great repercussions as the game went on, especially with the composition that they drafted. They weren't able to find anything else. I mean, there was no one sneaking around trying to catch people who were farming a little too aggressively, being able to assassinate them. It just seemed like there was no chance for them, as long as one was communicating, making sure to ping if there was some potential trouble, and then making sure that their composition was ready to go in the right order of operations. Boom banned bans and picks. Calico banned. Warden banned again, so I guess they really don't want each other to have that. And then Geist and Viscus coming out very much first. And is this almost exactly what we had last time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit reversed. This time it's going to be One Win with the Geist, and it's going to be Drakkar with the Viscus. Based on this, I'm guessing Drakkar is second pick. So, it's a thing right now, if teams get given the Geist, they will grab Geist first pretty much no matter what. And honestly, after what happened last time, Viscus, again, is kind of when this thing where people are not banning Viscus the way they were last week, but instead are, he's being hit in the first round of picks. Warden still taken out by Drakkar, didn't want to deal with One Win's version of it. But like the second pick Drakkar comes in here is going to be somewhat telling in how they're deciding to build their team and where they go for overall. And for Drakkar, my main request to them going through is get some form of initiation going in, because I think a team as good as One Win, I don't know if you can entirely guarantee that you're going to win lane phase, but they go with the super early Shiv pick, which look, Shiv is good right now. I don't know if Shiv is pick this early in the draft level good.
Well, it was banned last time, right? So I guess that is what they were thinking of, is really not all in on Shiv, but making sure to get that very fast. Mirage and Sinclair on the other side. So once again, maybe like an earlier Sinclair than we can see in some other draft picks, but making sure to grab that first and foremost. Did we really get a reveal? Like you saying Drakar's second pick might reveal kind of their intentions. Was that the case? Except that they just really want Shiv?
I mean, maybe, like, here's the other thing for Drakar is that if they want Kelvin, they have to pick Kelvin right now. Because if they don't pick Kelvin, one win team is almost certainly just going to ban it at the mid-stage bans, not to give Drakar like the Kelvin at that point. So, but if you do Shiv Kelvin now, you are leaving a lot on the table. I mean, you've already given up the ability to go for Mirage and Geist, and Sinclair in the early lane is still like an absolute demon to deal with. So it's kind of interesting because like one win team, if you think back to the last one win Bombshell, they were the team that was kind of falling on the sword of like, we're going to super early pick Shiv Kelvin. But in this case, Drakar, they shifted a little bit. They go for the Wraith, which is good. I think it's in response, one win team is either going to pick or ban the Kelvin. But I'm happy for Drakar they didn't go full in the Shiv Kelvin camp, because as good as it is, I don't think it's going to over prioritize it to that extent in the draft right now.
I see. But almost certainly going to be a reaction from one win then. So that's what we're waiting on. Either they choose them or they ban them. As we wait for the heroes to pop up here. What other choices can be made? Maybe change things up. And may keep bringing up this Flash, but as you said, kind of a second initiator. Infernus was not chosen actually in the last game, something that we haven't seen. And who else? I've been seeing some more Mo and Krill. But I don't
one win of all
it.
teams. Yeah, I mean, Mo has like been a little bit out of vogue, but if any team would run the Mo and Krill, it'd be one win team, and they ran it earlier. And then you think about times where like one win was looking really good. It was back in the era where they'd do things like ABL on Yamato backed up by the Mo and Krill. Yamato, I think, still potentially pretty likely to come in here for a one win team if it's not banned out. Decent odds that it does actually get banned in the mid stage bans here by Drakar, just because you think about how one win team is likely to build up the rest of their team. Obviously, you've taken the Wraith off the table. Empty Dreams will probably be looking more over towards like picking up the Infernus or the 7 in turn. But yeah, I mean, Drakar, we'll see where it goes in here. I think this is going to be one of those things where it's like all of a sudden we get like slammed with like 3 picks and both bans at the same time. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, wait, Kelvin banning, or Drakar banned the Kelvin?
Yeah, Drakar banned it.
Yeah, so I mean, they were kind of looking at going, okay, one win. We don't want you to grab the Kelvin in turn, which they might have done, the denied from the Shiv, but interesting. Drakar like led with the Kelvin ban. I wasn't necessarily expecting that one.
Yamato banned for one win as well. So what are we at? You're talking about the Infernus, so that's still a possible choice there.
Infernus, Vindicta with what one team has been showing. Also, Drakar going over to the pocket. I think from everything I can, that's kind of more of a comfort pick for cosmetical. That. And also, I mean, it's a pick that one win team has looked good on in the past, so I don't hate the pocket coming in the mid-stage draft. But yeah, I mean, one win team picks coming in here, probably expect to see Infernus or 7 in the next 2 picks. Or you could actually wait a little bit longer, because Drakar already went with the Wraith. Like, you could save it till last. So we'll see what they come out with here.
Right,
a few options.
holiday.
And okay, the Vindicta comes back in, and they get the holiday for initiation. So
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Mention the holiday and paradox choices too, but the holiday this time around not banned. So little initiation coming from Drakar, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for Drakar, I'd like to see a paradox come in, or there's a world too where like teams have even done things like paradox Lash at this point. I think the front line, I mean, you're running Shiv, Viscous. I mean, you can kind of get away with what they have here, but yeah, I mean, based on what happened last time, if they wanted to bring out a paradox, it'd probably be better. It's still a little bit weird to be in this mindset of like, wait, you're picking Paradox this late in the draft, the hero that for months and months and months was in the first 3 picks along with Mirage pretty much forever. So yeah, I mean, that's how much changes between one Bombshell to the next here. If you go back, drafts completely different just about like a month and a half ago.
It was 6 Bombshells, so approximately every 2 months or something. Finished drafts as well, so we'll talk about that. Mo and Krill on the side of one win team, and then Lash and Bebop on Drakar. So I feel like they kind of backfilled a lot of that initiation potential. So definitely a changed draft here from Drakkar, taking away some of the ones that one win team got, trading some of the characters, and then finishing with Lash and Bebop.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because again, there was a period of time where you'd see it was 1 week in particular where in the first 3 picks for one team or another, you'd always see like Mo and Holiday go early, and we've kind of gotten away from that, but it's still a very powerful combo. I mean, you have the ability, multiple ways of setting up. Not only is like Holiday really good in lane, but you can roam with Mo and Krill. You can use Lasso to set up combo, but also, I mean, Lasso and combo both still really good at their own for applying, again, early the mid game pressure. Where you take a look at one win team setup, they are definitely still really focused on snowballing in the early mid game. Like, not almost everything they have is very, very good pre 20 minutes, whereas Drakkar by difference, I mean, also pretty good in the early game. Now I'm taking a look at the only thing that's a little bit more later is the Shiv, but Wraith a little bit more so too. But all in all, both teams, lots of options in the early game.
Yeah, I think on some of the dynamics between the characters chosen, the Viscous Cube can help out a lot against anyone who might be dragged by the lasso or hit by the combo. Bebop can also be a savior as well as a stone cold killer, so that's going to be helpful. I'm looking forward to maybe some more powerful death slams. We didn't get to see that last game as was involved, but then we'd have that combination with Affliction, could be quite devastating. And then Shiv, in an ideal scenario, is going to be around to get all of those killing blows on a bunch of weakened players. I could see this really turning out well with a couple of great starts for Drakkar's team fights. Maybe a little bit more of the assassination as well coming down with like the Wraith roaming a bit more. What are the dynamics we're talking about? Obviously, Sinclair already went over how powerful he is, and just anyone can be scared of the Hex. Turn into a little rabbit. And then as far as the steals, Bebop's Hyper Beam, pretty fun to steal. What do you think about stealing Viscus's ult, by the way? This is like just me curiously asking.
It's happened every now and then. Believe it or not, it has not happened as much as possible, but every now and then we've got like the ball versus ball setup. Sometimes Sinclair will grab it also when just like trying to get away, because it's one of the better abilities to get away from. But yeah, in terms of like how the team fights are gonna break down here, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, a lot of like any Bebop combos independence is your Bebop landing hooks, but in general, the game plan here for Drakkar is gonna be making as much space as possible for both Shiv and Wraith to get online. Meanwhile, for a one-win team, they're not running too much. And like, obviously, you're going to try and farm more on the Geist Mirage side, but their one win is 100% going to be way, way more aggro of the two sides here. And I think a lot of how this early game progresses is going to come out to the lanes and who's able to strike first on the Guardian. And taking a look at the mid lane here, you talk about poke damage. If Bebop doesn't land a hook quickly here for Drakkar, mid lane is going to be a disaster with it being hit by Mirage and Holiday at the same time.
Yes, the hook did come out immediately. As soon as you called it, came down, but not enough of a follow through to really make it devastating. So that is going to be painful, clearly obnoxious. On the left side, I got some Magician and Krill action against Viscous and Shiv. On the right side, Geist and Vindicta up against the Lash and the Wraith. Geist pretty much always good, right? Like the landing phase totally fine for her. Wraith needs a little bit more time, I would say, to get online. So that could be a little scary as Geist continues to throw her grenades at you, get you very low. Vindicta eventually will get her assassinated, and then that's where it gets a bit scary. Drakkar had a lot of trouble last game, a lot of trouble in the early phase. Sub 130 on the clock, and we do have one win. Already losing a man. Sometimes, Deadlock's kind of funny because it feels like it could be really, really impactful, that very fast first blood. Sometimes it is absolutely not, but we already see that about 0.5k down. A little bit of an action going on the left side too. Far more aggressive as we have one win, getting Cosmetical, taking them down. I might have called that erroneously earlier on, so my bad, they have flipped. So, but we have the Drakkar trouble, I suppose, already beginning as one win looks to bully these lanes.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough how left lane began there. And honestly, the biggest judge of whether or not your early kill is impactful or not is that did you lose a lot of HP there in the process? Like, did you lose enough HP that you had to back out and otherwise? And speaking of things getting rough here, Bebop just getting harassed and then some. And this is the problem going up against a Mirage Holiday lane, is that you only have a little bit of opportunity to make something happen before the poke damage just absolutely shoots you out of lane. And the problem is, too, it does lead into what can be the beginning of a big snowball here, because as soon as mid Guardian goes down, again, it's going to be, this time overseas, it's going to be very heavily roaming on the holiday, making the situation on left and right even worse than it is right now.
Yeah, very precarious and a little bit of freedom of movement if they're able to take down very quickly. And Piggy did have to entirely withdraw, finally back in on it. I don't believe the hook was effective. Yeah, overseas still completely healthy, while we have the Mirage Empty Dreams just going for the box runs as well. So another powerful start for one-win team. No Guardians super in trouble as of yet, but the mid lane, that's maybe we're going to focus entirely on. If they take that down with any haste and roaming around the other lane, it's going to cause a lot of problems for Drakkar once again. I'd hate to see them just get into another bad game and then just not be able to recover. Although the composition is different, so maybe this won't be as bad if the early laning phase does go extremely poorly for them. But they are being pressured heavily yet again.
Well, it's also, I mean, Trax is just getting demolished in the right-hand side. Also on top of it, where, you know, Lash is again another one of those characters in the, you know, category of they definitely need some amount of farm. They don't need to be your most farm character, but so much of Lash comes from just getting value off ground strikes, not even just Death Slam. And every time we look at the right lane, we just see Lash running for his life. The Guardian almost down. Geist going in, goes for the Miracle Parry, not gonna get it. And man, the Guardian already down on the right side. Every lane right now just turning into an absolute disaster for Drakkar.
Yeah, it actually is. Is it worse than last game even? This is so much pressure applied.
You ask simple question, the response is yes. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
That is terrible. Oh, on the other hand, just getting hit with the hook that ends up hitting the bridge rather than getting brought forward. Just when Piggy's just like, please, man, let something go my way.
Right? Yeah, throw me a bone here, man. And the bridge said, nope, no thank you. A lot of troubles going through here. Lasso does end up connecting, and Piggy, oh, poor Piggy, it's lassoed to death. That mid is, well, we talk about going down. It actually wasn't the first Guardian that went down. The right side pressure was just so extreme. You're right, like, Lash just has not been able to be any type of bully, which he's canonically supposed to be, but absolutely not. Once again, taken down. Xenon for the pause, so there wasn't Trax, like, you know, having something wrong with his keyboard. That was just him being bullied so much, and then the kill factor is there. And now Assassinate is online too, so I suppose like an extra powerful kill factor. I see. Zanya was having some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't shock me. Zanya is definitely one of the world leaders in pauses and Deadlock, especially on the EU side, which, by the way, is saying something given how many pauses go on in EU. But yeah, I mean, this is... disaster would be one of the words that comes to mind right now in the early game, because you think about how this is going to progress with how the rest of the one-win comp is going to go. They're going to be able to be turbo aggressive in the jungle, and you think about Drakkar's game plan here of funneling farm into the Shiv and the Wraith. They're not going to have a lot of space to do that, especially given the fact that they're about to be down 3 Guardians to 0 5 minutes into the game.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. We've been seeing some deadlock matches with all Guardians up at 10 minutes. This is incredible. Trax, funnily enough, one of the, you know, doing okay on the souls, I suppose, relatively other part of the team, just to be super clear, because overall, we are not increasingly getting worse in the soul count for Drakkar, but despite how much attention's been paid to how just much of a hard time Trax has been having, fights going on the right side. The Guardian in a little bit of trouble, but not so much that I think it's going to go down here. Some very bold shift play right there from Cosmetical. Didn't think anyone was in killing blow range, but it was very aggressive nonetheless. Flammable does go down. His one win finally loses a man, but no real results happening from it as of yet. The Guardian still relatively safe. The right side one definitely in the most precarious position. A 3v1 currently as Guy stands on her own. Vindicta is coming back. Is all the Guardians down. Not quite sub 5 minutes, but about 6 minutes. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, also because mid lane went down so quickly, I mean, Overseas was able to rotate over to the left, and, you know, the prophecy kind of being a case here. Lasso, ready to go. On the hunt right now is Overseas looking, and just gonna grab a big old ball of goo.
Usually not very appealing, but in this case, in Deadlock, it is. Nice Affliction trying to at least ward away the opponents, give your teammates some time to heal, which is just enough, actually. They got down to 64 health. With a rescue beam, also make sure that the Holiday never got into too much trouble himself. A little bit of a chase going on, teleport, and, well, with the suitcase should be good enough. Are we going to have the chase continue? Looks like we are. Mo just following him alongside. Blob once again going down. Piggy in some trouble. Lady Guy's soul change not online. Might not need it though. She is getting awfully aggressive, wanting to get Piggy. And is just going to end up a little shy. Yeah, they actually might have to back out. This might turn around a little bit on one win. And in fact, it already looks to be the case. Lambo going down, but Piggy was eventually found and killed. As now, ABL might be able to get away.
I mean, this is, needless to say, this has gone from bad to worse. And again, you think about ways back into the game right now for Dakar. They're already getting into this realm where the stat difference is really high. You're not able to take equal fights at this point. You're down 3 Guardians to 0, so your map control is just in the gutter. And this is still, you know, about 2.5 minutes before the first urn ends up hitting. But this is kind of a masterclass of why early game matters in Deadlock right now. And the hole that Dakar need to pull themselves out is difficult as Vindicta just racks up another.
Yep, 2 shots available. No one getting quite low yet. I think that was a death slam into a combo, so just completely denied. And the massacre will continue. Shiv is now on the platter. There's a stun, so that ended up, you know, looking at least a little bit nicer, but easy assassinates. More pressure across the lanes. You know, at this point, when the urn finally does pop up, there's not even going to be a chance for Drakkar to get close to take it. And then to bring it back to their own side of their base also might be very difficult to do, as their walkers are now being pressured. They could absolutely go down. You really have 0 map pressure, and it's still sub 10 minutes.
I mean, the timing is bad. You don't even have a death slam to come in to help defend. You are getting pummeled by Mirage over on left-hand side, and I mean, you're about to get hit with the mark of shame. And the mark of shame is that, you know, urn turn in and you're like, oh, well, you know, might have to go into our territory. Well, okay, you shouldn't be behind 15k at this point. I mean, Xenon goes down. They may have dug a little bit too deep, but they also got the walker in turn. A little bit of goo play here from Captain. Nice little bounces back and forth. Put in Empty Dreams in a bit of a pickle here as the chase down comes on.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to be able to barely survive. Overseas coming in, trying to help out. It is Captain who gets taken down at the end of it. So, chasing out the Empty Dreams, end up providing Empty Dreams of your own. But, 12k difference, Walker down, no Guardians. Oh no, Guardian finally did go down. Left side, finally something a little bit there for Drakkar. But the urn still not available. I do wonder if their sights are maybe on the urn to try and recover, but to actually, again, get into the positions that it would be helpful to do so. To be able to cap the urn. Might be possible now that they might have a little room to breathe, but then getting to the urn. I mean, this is a case where even one win could even take the urn themselves, right? I mean, not necessarily to go for a dive and trying to cap it on their side, their opponent's side of the map, but just to keep it away from Drakkar. We do have a little bit of that fighting set up around the urn as I am speaking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's oftentimes what you'll see from teams. You know, I think in this case, one win team is ahead enough that they probably will just look to turn it themselves. But, you know, if you're worried about the urn stuff and you can get a clean pickup, you know, you can just hold on to it for all behind the enemy lines. Now, Drakkar, in a more even game, would love to have an even urn fight here. Use Death Slam to, you know, dictate positioning. But even with the Death Slam, this is going to be real do-or-die. Why don't we just clone a Death Slam? Comes on in and puts Lash in a tough position as the urn gets swiped. But by Drakkar.
Yeah, we got a little Shiv action finally. Flammable getting taken down. Now the hunt is on. Not a lot of support with this. The combo is going to buy some time at the very least. A very funny interaction when you combo while you're teleporting. Yeah, I got to give up the chase. Nice little hook there too. Is there follow-up? Not nearly enough at Mirage, tanky enough to be able to escape. And while that was all going down, Drakkar actually did manage to slip in that urn return. So there was some motion from one win to go and try and contest that. I don't believe they got close enough. And the quick decision to go for it ended up paying off. Now only a 7k difference. When it felt like it was snowballing out of control, it was 15k, right? Maybe we're up to 20k at this point. Evening up a little bit. There's some glimmer of hope yet for Drakkar.
I mean, one misplayed a little bit around the urn in regards to that. I mean, there's no real reason to give up urn control in that situation. Even if you're giving some of that respect to the Lash. And still could have contested the other way. I mean, they're still far enough ahead that I don't think they're really in danger. And at a minimum, though, I kind of look at that as like, okay, can you at least get, you know, a little bit more on objectives so that more walker damage, thereabouts. But make no mistake, Drakkar is still super far behind here. And, you know, the one upside I will say is that even though it's not ahead of the game, I mean, they've done a decent amount of job of, like, getting some of the farm funneled into Blob at 13k.
You're right, yeah. Hoping that Wraith might eventually pop off a little bit. But you're right, it might be closing the gap on the souls, but we still have a lot of the map being the problem. Missing out on all these objectives. There's our 2 Guardians up for 1 win, guys, while the Walkers are once again within sight of 1 win. Trying to take this fight right now. This plan was particularly effective. Assassinate looking to help out. It's not going to be low enough to get that kill, but significant damage done on the Shiv might make him hesitant to come back into this fight. Piggy also in a lot of trouble. Somehow managed to, like, kind of glide over to the left side, where, well, Vindicto was able to find the kill anyway. And now
Piggy was like... Piggy was just saying, it's like, I'm saved. The lasso isn't pulling me down. And Vindictus is like, no. I still got the shot. I'm still here. Lasso's been doing that a lot lately. That's not enough to deter people from playing Holiday, but the amount of times we've seen recently of lasso connecting and person not getting dragged down, higher than you may think as the swap moves in.
Yeah. I mean, it's all fair game, I suppose, as Bebop's hooks getting canceled by Bridges, so fair game. Alchemist Fire, I think, I might have contributed to the kill on Cosmetical. Drakkar, once again, pushed back significantly on 2 lanes, but at least had their Wraith trying to split push a little bit, or just simply push while everyone else was distracted. Now is in a lot of trouble, not going to be able to make the escape, and I'm not even sure they really damaged the Walker a terrible amount, so not a lot of success over there for Blob. It's going to be reset. What would be the next goal here for 1 win? I mean, with some of the ways that these engagements have been going, as the revive timer continues to go up and up, we could have a very fast mid call if they're going to continue having all of this map pressure. We have seen that, I think, like, more often lately. I mean, Abraham's kind of feels like they were the ones who were like, let's just call it if we have the map, even if, like, enough people are alive. But I suppose it matters who you actually get the pick off. Thinking a little bit longer term here, just as things calm down, about how 1 win can either continue capitalizing on their lead, or, of course, alternatively, we can talk about how Drakkar might be able to make the comeback. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, right now, I think what Drakkar would like right now is a flex slot more than anything else.
Well,
like,
yeah.
They're still, like, they're over on the right-hand side. They're like, okay, look, you stack the deck here. And, like, you look at how 1 was positioning. They're actually positioning pretty well to deny that from even being a thing here. Captain gonna get caught. Taking a look there. They have a little bit of a trade. But you see Drakkar trying to stack the deck over to the right, be like, okay, can we at least get this Guardian? And one was like, no, we're going to keep rotating people on over. This is fine. But one of these fights is eventually going to hit the point where you are at decisive advantage and you either take it to go another Walker or go mid.
Yeah, and notably, Drakkar really do need these flex slots. I mean, they're piling up, they're filling up right now. And need 2 Guardians, which remains out of their reach. Drakkar even forced all the way back as some heals needed to go down, waiting on some revives too. They got all of the lanes pressured at this point. 2 on the left side. 1 win team looking to grab that left Walker. How low is it already? Could we once again go for the dive? Absolutely. No Hurricane necessary this particular time. The pocket went in deep. Got the Affliction eventually, but was cut down on the health thanks to the combo. And it seems like the fight's going to be committed to a certain extent for Drakkar. The Wraith is back up. Blob went for the telekinesis, actually gets that hit, and it looks like Zania is going to go down. We do have the Urn pickup, however, from 1 win team, so that might be the next point of contention. It is on the side of the fight, which hasn't gone drastically in one player's favor, so I don't think the Urn is necessarily the choice at this point. Which, I mean, maybe they are picking it up. It depends how long they can stick around, I suppose. Flammable does go down too, however, and it seems like Drakkar was able to at least punch back to a certain extent with that particular team fight.
Yeah, I mean, most Drakkar's kills so far have come on in off the back of effectively 1 win super committing to get a Walker. So, you know, 1 win in this case, they're not even like too sad about that. Now, in terms of how they play this Urn fight here, they're far enough ahead that they can just kind of outright go for it. And you look at ults here, I don't think they're going to be able to make a play before, say, Affliction comes back online. But, you know, we'll see how they decide to play it. At the very least, you know, you'd think maybe they'll set this up as a play that go grab mid at the same time as, get into a little bit of trouble.
Yep, that was an effective hook. It was just, unfortunately, not enough follow-up. We will have Lash's ult barely online, although he is currently intertwined with some bad mojo. Yep, Trax does go down. MP Dreams totally on top of him and did not let him go. So never mind about that one. One of their ults, Telekinesis, does help out, takes out ABL, and there's some life here. I mean, maybe if this fight can continue going well for Drakkar or well enough, they might be able to get the urn themselves. It looks like that might be a bit of a warning there. Xenon decides to go ahead and pull back. It's like, okay, maybe that wasn't the best fight possible. We're not going to get the urn super simply. We're going to hold off on that. And maybe elsewhere we've been making some headway, which is absolutely the case, actually. On the right side, Mirage taking on the base Guardians, looking for yet another flex slot.
Yeah, I mean, one win right now is just not bringing full force to the urn fight. It's going, okay, Empty Dreams, go ahead, go the macro here, get base Guardians down, grab us more on the flex slot end, and they are completely okay with that. And by the way, speaking of flex slots, we are at a flex slot watch right now for Drakkar as we're 17 minutes in, and they still have not been able to get a Guardian. In fact, they're going more for the Walker on the left-hand side, contesting all the while. But also, you take a look here, Empty Dreams real close to getting Traveler up. As Empty Dreams goes deeper. He's going for Shrines, by the way. Empty Dreams just straight up going for Shrines as One Win is defending back on the Walker.
Yes, they are defending, and that is just such a double whammy. That is right in the feels, man. Nothing is going well for Drakkar as this Mirage is a terror in their main base. Flammable has been on him for some time, but he's so tanky, and then that Traveler is up, so the escape could be possible. They had the Patron go down? Are you serious? That was all Mirage? Yeah. Oh my god.
Vindicta was up there too, but yeah, I mean, Empty Dreams is like,
true,
look, let's just get through this game on the quick side. So, yeah, I mean, that was about as brutal as it gets, where, again, on flex slot watch, you take a look at where Drakkar is at right now. It is 0 flex slots to 4, and they're running out of options here. On top, you also have Urn Control over the One Win. So,
yeah. I'm a little real bro right there, helping out, push into main, surviving, escaping alongside Empty Dreams. Just immediately going for the urn pickup. Oh, it's Drakkar. They had, but you kind of pointed it out though. I was like, well, maybe they have a couple of good opportunities, but then you pointed out that it was kind of just around because One Win was going for the Walker so aggressively. So unless they find One Win being ultra aggressive and taking maybe risky fights, right? Then this has not been a good game or a good chance anywhere for Drakkar. We're now going to be contesting Urn on their side of the map. Telekinesis might be taking on the Magician very fast, but very good escape on Magician, obviously with Spectral Assistant way far back, so not going to be the case. Can come back in with their ult just about online as well.
Look at the Patron. They're like, while they're messing with the Urn, you also Empty Dreams is back because like, I don't need no team. I'm actually gonna be fighting the Patron. Like, we're looking at the team fight over here left, but the actual pressure coming in is you just got Mirage up over here, forcing movement back in, having the Patron down nearly half. Urn still being turned in for what it matters. Lash trying to chase on down, goes for the slam, tornado disjoint, gonna come on in, and this Empty Dreams just living his best life.
Yeah, even when there is someone trying to help to defend that base, I mean, Empty Dreams is able to take them on. Takes them on, takes the base Guardians on, gets the Shrines, gets some support from Vindicta, then continues. I don't want to say this, but maybe realistically couldn't really be able to end the game right there as much as that was the choice, but almost like a flex of their power, right? Going after the Urn, having that battle ensue, and then also threatening that little backstab is just how far ahead they are. Now, the lanes, once they push out again, there'll be a little more indication that that is a possibility, which has kind of been the problem, right? Is that, simply put, Drakkar has no map presence. They don't know when someone's planning like that, and when they finally get the alert, it's pretty darn can't push it back very far. Only one lane for Drakkar have been pushed, and it's the left lane, which again is at the even side. Maybe if it's not attended to, it could get a cheeky Walker, but that would just kind of be One Win being so aggressive, so confident. They just figure they're going to win the game anyway. And they're not even letting that happen. Empty Dreams, once again, coming in on the left side, going to clear all the lanes. Maybe the aggression on the right and the Urn threat is going to keep Drakkar too busy, and they're going to lose those base Guardians off the left as well.
I mean, they're going for mid-boss now, but also, again, the bring up we're at, there's still only one Guardian down for Drakkar now. So, I mean, 21 minutes in the game, you're at the point where you're nowhere near being at full power. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to try and contest here on mid-boss, because what else are you going to do? I mean, you're down 30k, you're 100% losing the game if you give up Rejuve here. So you got to look for something, but, the actual options for the contest here are going to be a bit of problematic. But here we go. Goo Ball is in. It's already captured by Xenon. Rapid Hex on point.
Yep. Spectral Assistance, so you could just zip back over there and get the punch when it was actually ready. The Hex helps out. Captain is taken down. Eventually, the ball falls, and the Rejuve is firmly in One Win team's hands, alongside with this game. Empty Dreams, are you going to survive again? Are you going to survive again? He's going to survive again. He's out of there. Shiv's chasing. The rest of the team is down. Trackar down to the last two, and Trax is almost dead. And Cosmetical, honestly, with the chase, okay, does find Empty Dreams. That is at least what's going well for them, I suppose. But now I was going to say, might be in trouble. They actually have to run past a Guardian at 22 minutes. Oh, that feels bad. The Hex comes in as well, and this is just no escape. At least they got Flammable on the way out. I mean, this actually was kind of, like, in isolation, kind of a cool Shiv moment. But
it's just one of those things,
really
like,
matter.
at least they got Flammable. The greatest, affirmation is like, well, we got the Vindicta, guys. We did it. Also, the game is very, very much over. So this is going to be one win team looking dominant. And again, coming into this, kind of the performance that they need to have if they want to be on the come up here. Drakkar, I mean, reality is things got out of hand from them at the beginning, and it never quite got better from there on out. Patron's going to go down, and one-win team have a good end to their day. And the problem is here, ZG, is that it doesn't get any better going forward with Drakkar. Is that, oh, you had your warm-up game versus one-win team. Hope you're ready for Virtus Pro.
Right. And I don't think we're talking about a drastic stylistic difference that makes us go, well, these other guys are going to play like more defensive, or they're going to look for more of like the late game, or, I don't know what you could say. But it's just, I think Virtus Pro are going to be really confident. Might even, of course, been watching that game and saw some of the weaknesses of Drakkar too, which you're already facing one of the best teams in Deadlock currently. But then on top of that, they were able to get the insight on you first. So that also is the sucky part of their current lineup. So Drakkar, we're going to see how well they are at shaking off in 0-2. That was pretty brutal, honestly. One win just looked really good and patient enough, making the right choices, not overextending. And Drakkar is going to be facing an even more intimidating team in just a few minutes.
I think this is one of those things where you got to try and like find the glass, half full thing here. It's like, well, we got them out of the way today. All we have to worry about is Abrahams. And look, I mean, what the format is, the reality is you can, lose to one-win team, and you can lose to Abrahams and still have more than enough margin of error to come back in and, make playoffs and hope to make a run from there. But I think what you see here, and you only really see this when there's a big gap between teams, is the early game really does matter quite a bit in Deadlock. And the lane phase, you have to draft and play in a way that you don't let the lane phase get completely far away from you. And look, I mean, Bebop in middle versus a Mirage Holiday lane, where admittedly, like, every lane kind of went against them, but a lot of it did start again in middle, where you have this overwhelming lane where you're worried about landing hooks to set yourself up, and you don't land a hook, you get taken down by the pressure, you lose mid Guardian, and you now have to deal with a Holiday that gets free roam at 4 minutes, which ends up leading you to lose all 3 Guardians by 5. It was just a brutal snowball that kicked off very, very quickly.
Yeah. Again, not much to add as far as that point. It really did start from the beginning again. Maybe some plays could have been made later on in the game, but this is where one-win team, with communication, recognizing what could possibly happen, making sure that the comeback did not happen. Even when they got that bridge, right, there was a 15K deficit, and then there was more of a 6K deficit, I think, after that, right? Even then, you rightly pointed out that this was still not enough to really make the comeback happen. So we still have so much map control and all the objectives being taken down. The flex slots really did come into effect as well. Sometimes it can happen early enough that like your item slots are already full anyway. So maybe that's not the most impactful thing, is having that flex slot missing. But with how long, I mean, at the end of the game, right? They did not have that extra.
No, they
slot.
never got it. They never
exactly.
got it. It was like 22
minutes.
minutes.
That's incredibly impactful.
No flex. I was like, where's my power? What am I selling? Which of my items do I truly value? Because I cannot hold them all. Anyone that's had a studio apartment at one point in their lives may be like, wow, okay, I actually, I don't have a place to store my stuff anymore. Well, you don't have a place to store your items anymore when, you fail to get 2 Guardians that deep into the game. But, stat wise here, not a lot of surprise. I mean, honestly, kind of snowballed from the very beginning. Overseas having a phenomenal game on the Holiday. And yeah, I mean, overall, not much to really go on here for Drakkar, because most of the kills that they were able to get in a lot of these fights, Cosmetical, was able to get a lot of cleanup, but it also came in things where one was just straight up sacking people for walkers and objectives, generally speaking.
They were doing all the things. Literally, like multiple times, they're doing all the things. They were pressuring a walker, they were getting the urn or keeping it away at the very least. They were going into their opponent's base with one guy and then two and getting all the guardians. Like, it was everywhere, everything, all the time. And no room there for Drakkar to make the comeback happen. But they are going to be going into a next match. Maybe the warm-up is there. Maybe their hands are nice and warm and they're going to have some better communication. I don't know. Virtus Pro maybe underestimates them. Who can say? But they are facing a very intimidating opponent coming up next after this break. It is going to be Virtus Pro versus Drakkar. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be going into our second game, I suppose, but the fifth game of the day. It's going to be Virtus Pro versus Drakkar. Drakkar having some trouble versus one win, never getting a foot up on them from start to finish. It was one win, one win, one win. And now they face what once was the most dominating team, right, in Europe, in Virtus Pro. I mean, they're still pretty darn good. Just Abraham's going to a little bit over on them in some of these tournaments, but Virtus Pro, they've been consistent. They've been around for a long time. Their team cohesion is great. And Drakkar, as I had said before the break, now is the test of how much they can just wash that off, shake it off. Maybe they'll surprise us up against Virtus Pro, because unfortunately they couldn't against OneWin.
Yeah, I mean, trial by fire is exactly what comes to mind here, where you kick things off, you go against one-win team, you kind of get kicked in the face, and now it may get a little bit worse going up against VP. Another team right now where, I would say right now probably about number 2 in U based on recent results, but VP this is just kind of the VP cycle, where VP has been on top more often than not, going all the way back to their Buff Enjoyers days, and every now and then things will kind of shift in the meta, shift in gameplay, people will figure them out. They'll get knocked down for a few weeks and then get right back up. And given the stakes here at One Win Bombshell Vol.6, this would be a rough prize pool to miss out on Abraham. So, if any team's going to bounce back on the overall, it's going to be VP. And the team on the unfortunate receiving end here is going to be Drakkar, to see what VP has been cooking up in the last week.
Yeah. Any changes you might be thinking based off of Virtus Pro seeing Drakkar? Kind of feels like they could do their status quo. I mean, Drakkar probably knows a decent bit about them, right? Being
yes.
top of the tournament scene. So there might be some counter picks that end up being, kind of like I'm not going to say a problem for Virtus Pro. I'm thinking more like maybe they would want to grab Lady Geist, for instance, which is grabbed every single time. And then Drakkar's like, I got it first. Is that really going to be that painful? Absolutely not. Is there anything more impactful that Drakkar could do? That's where I'd go ahead and ask you that question. What can Drakkar do to get things rolling in their favor?
What can Drakkar do for you? Well, okay, for Drakkar right now, I think number one is get out of the lane phase without just getting completely demolished in the first 5 minutes, because the problem is that Deadlock has a bunch of tests that you have to pass before you can actually play the game. And the reality is that if you're losing a Guardian pre 5 minutes, that's turning into you losing multiple Guardians pre 10. You don't really get to evenly participate in team fights anymore. So if I'm Drakkar, I'm probably trying to stack the deck a little bit more into heroes that are very strong in early laning, or at the very least can neutral out and let the game extend at least to 10 minutes. Conversely, if I'm VP, I'm trying to learn a little bit of the lessons that Abraham's ended up teaching them, which is that they got punished very hard by some of the inflexibility towards the later end of their hero pool drafts that were going on there, where, you knew that Abraham's was going to go for a late pick onto Bebop, late pick on the Wraith. And for VP, because they had done things like early prioritized the Infernus, they weren't able to deny those picks, or they weren't as aggressive in being like, hey, if you are relying entirely on Bebop, maybe we should grab them themselves. Not that they necessarily have to high prio that versus Drakkar, because, Drakkar, even though they ran the Bebop, it didn't look that good. I think the thing I want to see for VP is that VP is usually really good about, having a really strong game plan, making opponents adapt to them, but sometimes maybe a little bit more proactive with your drafts against the opponent may be good. That said, now we're into the draft. I don't know if VP is going to be too worried about that here, because I doubt they did a ton of prep for Drakkar coming on in.
Yeah, maybe more so focus on the Abrahams, who have been a bit of their rival lately. Yeah. But I like your point, kind of summing it up as just trying to survive through the early phase. Yes. Try and actually get to show what they can do in the mid game, which unfortunately means, your draft is not going to be geared towards mid or late game. If that's where you think you are best, the test is there first. You got to get past the hump of the laning phase. Geist always a great pick, and it is great in the laning. And then we had obviously Warden and Calico Band, which seems to be the recipe of the day, I guess, just right off the bat, both of those. And Mirage and Viscous, which I actually am kind of glad to see the Goo Ball back so frequently, just so you got banned a lot of the times in previous. I'm glad to see him back at the Magician, and even an earlier pick for Drakkar. This is the earliest we've seen him, I believe.
Well, I don't think Drakkar wanted to lose lane horrifically to a Sinclair again. They're just like, okay, maybe we take this. Maybe there's a little bit of thought to it. And yeah, I mean, in terms of ban positions, Viscous and Warden basically swapped where you think about the last week of competitive play for the most part, Viscus was permabanned, Warden was picked early on. Now those two have just kind of changed positions, evaluations, where teams would decide, look, would rather play against Viscus than the Warden. And I mean, it's a little bit of difference there where, the Viscus is more likely to be mobile and, being more the playmaker role, whereas Warden is more like mid to late game carry. I'd say more emphasis on the mid. The thing we might see VP come out with that we didn't see in the last series, banned or picked would be the Haze. I think VP is one of the teams out there where even before teams were trying to go a little bit more for Haze, they're like, yeah, this is something we really want to play. And, if you're talking to someone like Lightbringer, they just value the mid game power that they get to it and the ramp that comes as a result. But Drakkar, going with the earlier pick on the Wraith, going to keep it away from Zergy, but on the same note, Zergy is going to be probably more than happy to just shift into Infernus if it's not hit in the mid-stage bans.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess, that could happen in the mid stage. But what is VP going to come up next? The Haze has been interesting. I'll go ahead and credit Jason with this thought. But one of the first conversations we had was just like, what is Haze's role and how is she going to play out in the competitive field? And I actually really like this point about the ability to scout with Haze. We've actually been seeing, I think, in some of those Deadlock Fight nights where if you just actually tracked Haze for a little while, you'd see a lot of the time they weren't trying to be aggressive. They weren't trying to find someone jungling and then just go ahead and get that quick assassination. There might even be opportunity for them, but then the caution was there. What they're really there for is try and just warn everyone else about the movements of their opponent, which I thought was a really cool addition. So I would love to see that and talk more about it. We're going to have the Yamato come out first.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense for VP. I mean, one of the side effects of this draft where you're getting Calico and Warden banned out early is that you kind of want to make sure you secure some form of frontline early on. In this case, they're deciding to go for the Yamato. We'll see what it means for the later picks that they end up going for here. But ban-wise, they decide to take out Pocket. Don't want to deal with it. Drakkar, in turn, taking down Holiday, who's often a favorite of Dmov. So for VP, in terms of their initiation, I think what VP has to ask themselves is that do you still go for the Paradox? Because VP often will at least run a Paradox or Holiday historically. They've done a few comps where they would run the Haze. This may be the case where you can kind of use Haze as in the similar role to Paradox and Holiday, even though it comes online a little bit later, still using her the setup ganks, being ahead of things and going from there. So the way I'm looking at the bans, I think the Haze is maybe a little bit more likely for VP, but Lash also something that they've been valuing in recent times.
Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, not too many highlight, I suppose, lashes as of yet. In fact, maybe one of the bigger highlights was the Magician stealing the lash ult in that last game. But yeah, usually a solid pickup. We got Kelvin as well, which I don't know why I forgot about for a second, but obviously a great pick. The earn runs are great with him, and then being able to rescue beam has been very helpful. Great support and good overall pick. Right. So what else are we going to need from both teams?
I mean, taking a look at here for VP, number one thing here is they need a hero for Zergy, and it is almost certainly going to be Infernus, unless, Drakkar was going to pick it away. But, I mean, Infernus for Zergy seems almost locked in with Wraith being off the table. And then it's just kind of a matter of what do you want for your last pick? The Haze still could be something they could go for. Meanwhile, kind of looking back on the Drakkar end, I mean, maybe they go Bebop. And, VP, they're going to end with Vindicta and Furnace and Drakkar. I mean, Bebop seems kind of likely as last pick here. If you're still looking for something on the initiation end.
Yeah. Vindicta continuing to rise, by the way, in the priority, apparently. Yeah. A lot of teams now doing it. But the Infernus was, as you were calling, very expected for Zergy in particular. So just waiting on that last one. Is it going to be Bebop? Is there anyone else who might be a good alternative?
I mean, Paradox is still on the board, which is weird.
Oh, yeah, Paradox,
which is still weird to say this late into a draft, but this is the new world we are living in. And yeah, I mean, I would probably expect Bebop or Paradox along those lines. I mean, look, you can experiment with something else. I mean, we saw an Abrams come in last pick, in an earlier match.
Never got a highlight, though, did he?
No.
Taken down from the get-go.
It was a rough game for, I think it was Captain on it, and it was just... It was kind of like the bad side of running Abrams, where if your lane goes badly, it's just like, what happened to Abrams for the rest of the game? And okay, instead they decided to go for the 7. So, I mean, for Drakkar, they're again like running this sort of comp here that pretty good if they get ahead, but atrociously terrible if they get behind. Meanwhile, VP, I mean, they're running significantly more power in the early mid game, and I would say laning wise too. You can argue a little bit close here and there, but like once ults come online, I think VP is going to be pretty scary in the lane phase by comparison. but you also have the Shiv Kelvin lane. So it's like there's some scenarios for Drakkar to win lane phase, but it really, I think, is going to come down to individual play and also like how VP is looking to handle the Shiv Kelvin.
Well, we did have Drakkar choose that 2 series ago, and then they didn't actually combine them together.
Which
so
is
I mean, yeah, we were kind of just wondering why that was. It didn't come up with a super solid answer, but I wonder if that means that they don't do it, or that was just a one-time thing, perhaps against the perceived lane opponents, as you don't quite know until you get off that zip line. But yeah, that would be the expected result. But the 7 coming out last, I mean, it's definitely not the ones we were thinking about. How do you think that's going to mix with the rest of this team, or against Virtus Pro's team? Excuse me.
Well, it's a little bit odd because like picking into Lash is also kind of a problem, because part of why you could get a little bit of value off a late 7 pick is that Stormcloud is actually pretty good about zoning for urn fights, which is we've seen teams like really preemptively pop Stormcloud to get a little bit more space on the urn. But in this case, if your 7 isn't really judicious about when they pop Stormcloud, you're actually just going to get death slammed early on, which is part of the value of Lash. Also, I mean, grabbing the Vindicta after Lash too. I mean, Lash has pretty reasonable matchups versus Vindicta that make Vindicta at the very least play more defensively. So yeah, I mean, given what was on the other team, I'm not ultra in love with the 7 last pick, but also behind the scenes, some of this may be hero pool things in terms of what Drakkar was dealing with. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I just think they're in a situation where should they fall behind after the laning phase, they probably aren't getting back in this one.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the concern that we brought out first and foremost, and I guess it is still our concern. Can Drakkar actually get to an even playing field going more into the mid game, or are they just going to get bullied, lose their Guardians way too fast, lose all the map presence that they could have, and then get kind of ripped apart? Very, very scared. But then they're coming into this very scared. What kind of combination they might be thinking of or hoping for? And it's, I'm starting to think about combinations of how their own team will work together, what the ideal scenario is for Drakkar's team should they get into more of a team fight. But then there's the bugaboo about them already being so far behind if the landing phase doesn't go their way. So it's like, even more so than usual, are just waiting for the game to start and waiting to see how these two teams size up against each other, when Virtus Pro is just simply put the favorite as well. So we haven't really discussed, what mechanical superiority there could be. I'm not saying that there is, but there could be, and that would even further compound any problems in the early game laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the other thing about this too, is that it's a difficult task at a Drakkar just because of how strong VP is historically to begin with, right? Like, this is already a matchup that you have one team coming in here as the absolutely prohibitive favorite, but even on the nuts and bolts, thinking about perfect play on both sides, Drakkar has a very, very tough time ahead of them, where, I mean, ideally for Drakkar, they get ahead in lane phase and then just sort of maintain the lead. But there's so many ways that, like, you think about what VP is running with here. We already saw in the last game what can happen if you are running against a Viscous and the Viscous lane gets a Guardian down early, and the ability of the Viscous to just go wild on the game. Or in this case, not only that, but also the Vindicta for early the mid-game power, and what's going to happen if VP is able to do plenty of distraction in the early mid-game and then just funnel tons of farm into Yamato. Oftentimes played by Listic, but every now and then VP will shift it around who's on what. I think from this comp, I probably would expect Listic on the Yamato, and yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but Drakkar, again, trial by fire right now. Perhaps a harsh baptism to kick things off here in Bombshell Vol.6.
It's going to be a lot of harsh baptisms across Deadlock as it continues to develop as a esport. So I'm here for it. I'm here to see what actually works out. I mean, we have been seeing so many meta changes over the last few weeks across the top tier teams. Even this Vindicta coming in today, right? It's just further proof that you might be climbing higher and higher in the priority, and have to rethink exactly what goes down. I know Warden's been banned, so I haven't really got to talk about the Warden dynamic, but some of the kind of discovery of Infernus being a great counter to Warden has been interesting to see unfold, and it makes total sense now, but it feels like it wasn't commonly talked about like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So it's fun getting into it at this point, but you're still waiting to get into the actual game and see how that laning phase goes. Last game, Drakkar against OneWin, they just immediately were pushed back, weren't they? So I don't know if it'll be as immediate this time, but if Virtus Pro like they could be sharks right now. They could smell blood in the water. They could be like, don't even care how the draft went, just really push them and take advantage, perhaps just the momentum because we are the favorite. And then we'll see if they can actually hold up against that. Jakar, really all eyes are on them under the magnifying glass as we finally head into the game. It's game 1 of this best of 2. Drakkar in their second match of the day, Virtus Pro facing them, then Lotus will be our next series. But how are these lanes looking, ZB?
Well, taking a look at here, first question is, do you Shiv Kelvin? And this time they do, in fact, go for Shiv Kelvin in the right-hand side. Viscous Yamato, I mean, not too bad a match. I think ideally would rather have had the Infernus in there. You think about lanes of wait, they might be lane swapping. Because they've gone really, what is going on in right lane right now? Because you take a look at, yeah, they're lane swapping. It is actually full lane swap because they want a better matchup for. And yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get here is that ideally you'd like the Infernus over in the lane, and that is a full-on lane swap being done here by VP. Something I think is like kind of underdone in Deadlock. It can really give a big advantage. In this case, yeah, you lose a little bit of lane presence, but getting the proper matchup here actually very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd take that. Over just begrudgingly allowing the unideal situation to happen. First test. Drakkar, how much better are they going to look in the laning phase? Already some Yamato pressure, getting up nice, close, and personal. And you know what? Just to say, mechanically, are they better? Are we going to see that proof here? And just them, start to really snowball regardless of any valiant attempts from Drakkar and the lane swaps and trying to get something better. Is it going to happen? Does it matter? Piggy just went down. My goodness, that happened quickly.
Piggy's just like, you guys don't have to do me like that. I used to be on your team way back when. Why is this going down like this way? But yeah, I mean, just full dominance behind the Guardian front. Now you do have... of course, the immediate here, back or in, quick little cube, goes for the parry. Still under pressure here by the Shiv, and yeah, just run away. Not the greatest year for me, though.
No, and actually they do get taken down. They were chasing after Blob.
Yes.
Blob was very close to going down in their defense, but the teleport did end up saving the day. And actually, the Yamato that was looking so confidently aggressive goes down as well. So a little bit of pushback here, So not as drastic as it seemed when that first pick happened so darn quickly. And Drakkar now in a little bit another fight down below. Varric going to be taken out.
Also kind of interesting looking at who's playing what. We got the Sharik Lash, not something we've seen a whole lot here, but hero pool wise makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, I mean the swap ups over here in the right hand side. Interesting to see, but by the way, speaking of swap-ups, the Shiv Kelvin went over to the left. So you had lane swap for lane swap, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you did. Piggy and Captain taken down very quickly as well. Some bloodbaths going on. A 3k difference. See how stronger that goes in favor of Virtus Pro. As we got some significant pushing happening on the right side. Zergy, I feel like we talk about him, or you guys talk about him quite a bit because he ends up being in the highlight reels. Once he gets going a little more, a very intimidating character to be playing up against. Some of the Magician counterplay has been decent, and we're seeing a lot of mobility with the assistant. Hex can save your life and all that, but it just can be very difficult, I think, to face such a character in the Deadlock scene. In the name of Zergy.
And things are still getting hot and heavy in the right-hand side. So look there, got Sinclair up on the rooftops right now, looking for Zerg on the other end. Vexing Bolt from afar on the Obikim, and again, this is kind of Sinclair early lane pressure that Drakkar was on the receiving end last time. Now deciding they want to use it themselves.
What do you think about the Obikim on the Vindicta, by the way? Someone who's played a lot of support.
Oh, he's done this a lot. He used to go like a full support Vindicta build, and
gotcha.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of worked out. They had like this weird phase where they'd also put Mikhail S on Vindicta a lot, but Obikim on Vindicta kind of brings it a little back in time, and yeah, it's something that's in his hero pool. Also, there was a time where like Obikim was playing a lot of Holiday of all things. So, supports in Deadlock, while they, at times we'll see them on Kelvin and stuff all the time. They'll swap a lot, and speaking of Kelvin, swap back the spawn.
Okay. All right, didn't look far enough back in the bots, I guess, then. Yeah. I've seen a lot of Mo and Krill lately. I think of when I think of Obikim, but not today. I think that is. A couple of trades did go down when we were talking, guys, and it is favorable to Virtus Pro. No Guardians yet, however, so already a more solid stance for Drakkar compared to the last game. That's not saying much as of yet. It just maybe makes me a little more hopeful for those mid-game plans to actually be executed. You know, Blob barely surviving, didn't have to go back, isn't exactly doing fantastic on the orbs, but I suppose good enough. Mikkel S seems like no matter what happens in his lane, even if he was losing it, which just to be clear, he's not, seems to always have a good number of souls. So I just like, this is what I look for when I see Mikkel S, and yep, leading the board with Shira currently.
Yeah, just you know, to be clear, he's definitely not losing.
Definitely not.
Having a good game. You know. Michaelis onto the Mirage is kind of interesting here too, because like a lot of the times you'd have Sharik on the Mirage, but I think the hero pool considerations here just kind of shifted up. Is like, all right, Sharik, let me play in Lash this time around. The 25k, the 29k. I think look at Obikim right now on the hunt, assassinate, ready to go, and Wraith run at the moment.
Yep, gonna lose a little bit more health there, so we need to be quite careful not to get into assassination one-shot range. Not gonna happen, but a lot of low people on Drakkar. We got Piggy taken down, Blob is very near death, and Varric is having a little bit of difficulty. Still healthy enough to be able to guard the Guardian, though. Yeah, Blob does have to return home. So that Guardian on the right side is either gonna go down or is gonna take some significant damage. Sharika does get taken down. That's something. But there's that Guardian that goes calling. Piggy was trying to come back to save the day, but it's not happening. And now might have gone a little bit too deep. You know, the support is there. And their assistant was just far back enough that they are able to run away. No chase given. Virtus.pro happy with the Guardian pickup.
Yeah, I mean, VP in general happy with the state of the game, both economy-wise and positioning-wise. Like, not only do they get the first Guardian, which is going to free them a little bit up where, okay, you take a look at this, they get right Guardian. Keep an eye on Obikim here, because Obikim is likely now going to go and start overloading other lanes here in just a moment.
Shadow transformation. Ballistic's gonna go try and go ballistic. Not exactly gonna have the opportunity, even though the ball is also rolling around, trying to get a lot done. In fact, might be able to take down Cosmetical. In fact, they do. A little bit of an opening now on the Guardian, although another wave of creep's gonna have to happen as they're still chasing down poor Kelvin here. He's flip-flopping around, trying to use the Guardian to protect himself. Is it going to be any type of save? Nope. 3-on-1. Wasn't fair to begin with. And now just a couple more Guardians and a couple more minions, excuse me, and the Guardian is down. So another point in favor of Virtus.pro as the 8k lead now puts them firmly in a great position. And I'm still looking at those right two characters, Sharik and Mikkel S, doing such a great job. Such a great job. The fact that it's two names, it looks like it's Michael's, it just always gets me. Sorry, guys. But they are doing such a fantastic job. They are getting so far ahead in those souls. Getting those picks as well. You know, Sharik not really, the Lash not really being a highlight in some previous series, but I feel like we're going to get that highlight here in this series.
Yeah, or at the very least, attempt if the game lasts that long. Kelvin just getting cut in half over here in the middle, and just in the last 2 minutes, things really opening up across all lanes in the game. VP not only getting a significant soul lead, but also, more importantly, getting onto the Guardian. Soon about to be like 3 Guardians to 0. And, I mean, Drakkar was hanging on for a little bit of time, like Piggy and the Sinclair wasn't looking absolutely terrible, but now down 3 Guardians. The worst part here against VP is VP is so good at macro that they quickly are going to start converting this into even larger advantages. It's not the advantage you see right now in Souls, it's what they're going to do with being able to go into the jungle pretty soon here thereafter.
Yeah, everyone's just going to be so far ahead in Souls. Ballistic, who is the only one catching up, and he's still doing pretty damn well. There's another fight going very much firmly in VP's favor. Getting some deja vu here a little bit. I think you're totally right to call it. VP's just going to continue getting farther and farther ahead as they found yet another. Right, barely surviving. How long is that going to last? Oh, the hunt is on. Come on, predict it. Oh, the soul swap did happen, but that didn't matter. Well, it mattered a little bit. Needing to do that, and still getting taken down by the Shiv. Frozen Shelter now activated for a little bit of a team fight. It's currently 1-for-1. Not much more to be gained there, I think, for either side, so they are going to withdraw from that group. It's still firmly in favor of VP as they have all of the Guardians down, having lost one themselves. Drakkar can say they got something, but is this going to be where they're locked? Because that last game, they were literally locked down with 2 Guardians still up for their opponents, never getting that flex slot. That's what we really want to see change here.
Yeah, I mean, VP usually pretty good about denying. I don't know if they're going to be as militant about it as we saw one win team a minute ago, but they are significantly far ahead here. Of course, mid buff's coming on up Vindicta going here. Oh, the Rabbit Hex out of nowhere as Obakim's got to go down. Bit off a little bit more. They could chew there. But Urn going to be in play here in just a moment. And VP should be contesting it fully.
Sherrick's being in position to go either left or right. Decides to help out on the right side. Viscous given a chase. Break right there. And the Urn still in play for VP. For Drakkar. They're going to be juggling it, trying to get it around all the way back and maybe open up an opportunity on the right side. Meanwhile, we got another chase. Zergy knows they got this in the bag. Takes out Blob, will be able to escape as well. That's another walker down. Drakkar just continuing to lose out on even just the map at this point. Their Urn is heading directly into a team fight. They're going to drop it, get involved. Sinclair hexing, trying to get some last hits here as Zergy was very, very low. Does go down. And maybe their Urn could be taken, but on the left side, Drakkar is losing another walker.
Yeah, I mean, okay, congratulations, you get Urn. Where are your walkers? They are dead. Zergy just getting away with the dive of a lifetime, going all the way back, getting a kill. I mean, mercifully, there's justice in this universe, ends up going down for it, but losing this amount of objectives for the Urn is just not a good trade here for Drakkar. Not only is VP going to get ahead soul-wise, but the map control is just absolutely ridiculous. And, I mean, VP isn't stopping. And this is, again, classic VP macro play where they just go for it. And, hey, why not do a double death slam and then get out of there? Because you actually don't like the fight.
Yeah, not so much for the lash, but he did throw him into a... Oh, well, I thought it was a couple of good opportunities. Maybe not. A little one-for-one right there. And... I think the most important point is what you're talking about. The objectives. The objectives. One more looking to fall as Virtus Pro continue to pile on the pressure in that mid. They're also getting, once again, I mean, a little bit of the backstab. Mirage. Different team, but same idea, I suppose. From Mikel S. Looking to go on that right side, potentially, as the game continues. Drakkar is on top of it so far. Seems like a notification about mid. I don't know if they're... I don't think they're going to call it, but maybe they're afraid of it. But maybe just actually going more so for the map, the flex slot, the Guardian, please, actually taken down. That would be nice. That the call out could happen. Is there going to be a defense of Virtus Pro? Yes, there is. Yes, they are in place.
Yeah, Rabbit X coming out pretty early here. And meanwhile, just take a look at Listic. Decent spot farm-wise. Zergy also taking some time out to farm. And also farming via the direct method onto Piggy. Frozen Shelter going to be used here, but Drakkar in a rough spot. Michaelis joining the fight. And overall, VP full rotating over and in.
Yeah, the call I think was made to push that Guardian, and then it was just immediate rebuttal from Virtus Pro, who now might have opened up the opportunity to grab that last walker. It is a maybe. Captain's coming through, not quite with the ult as of yet, but okay, out of the fast mid call. This time legitimately mid. So we still have the Guardian up in mid. They can fall back to that if necessary. I'm not sure that it will be. A little bit of pressure onto the mid take, but not nearly enough if Drakkar is actually here to try and do anything about it.
This is so safe, because Listic's going to come in and just shadow transform, and even if you go in for steals here, like, yeah, I mean, you get that. And that's part of the benefit that you get from coming in with the Yamato pick, is that you get to force mid-boss a lot more aggressively than you do in other heroes, just because, you don't have to build an unstoppable, you don't have to wait for an Abrams to get max level seismic slam. You just ult and go, and VP's going to turn this into even more ridiculous building pressure. Like, Middle Walker, probably want to say goodbye to it at this point.
Probably we'll have the consolidation of the team very soon. There was some decent pressure put off to the left side. I was going to ask, like, do you like that Varric tried to at least be in there in mid? Maybe Piggy was going to try and come in with a steal from the Magician too. That never worked out, though. The two people tried to, like, have some pressure around the mid take, but two other people were going for the Guardian. So I did like that portion. I just wonder what your thoughts were on actually trying to do anything about mid at that point.
I would have liked them actually just to, like, full commit to men, because when you take a look at it, you know that Listic has ult, you know that they're going to confirm with the Shadow Transformation. Like, the ability to actually steal mid with Rabbit Hex versus Yamato is not as great. And, I mean, it's still a bad situation overall when you take a look at the overall state of the game, but okay, silver lining for Drakkar at the very least, decision-wise. They have a flex slot this game, which is better than last game, but still tough overall, because you start looking at the economy allocation now, and overall, I mean, it's not wild allocation on the Zergy, but it's still the most farm player in the game, along with your Wraiths. So, but the rest of VP, pretty evenly stacked.
Mikel S doing a good job too. Just consistently like super solid. I know they've been having some trouble. I mean, the entirely Virtus Pro have been having some trouble against Abrahams, but usually very solid. And the Frozen Shelter comes out. Looks like that only was able to just isolate a duel, which I wasn't Trax was going to win anyway. Just buying some time, hoping for other people to come on in. Didn't actually happen. Certainly, the middle walker could be the pressure point, especially as they just drag the urn alongside it. I think they could get a 2-for-1 deal at this point. As Virtus Pro strongly in the lead. All men up. Even a couple of good ults available. And that walker... Actually, how do you handle this as Drakkar? I mean, what do you... Well, now they lost their potential ult from the 7, so I guess you just don't. Yep, that's the answer.
That's the problem here, is that you stop and think about the Drakkar team comp, too. They're not running with anything that is great for getting picks. Like, Listic gets caught a little bit overextended there, taken out by Cosmetical, who's the main person that's been able to finish off kills, but realistically speaking, VP has the ability to set the terms of engagement every time, and Drakkar is just stuck being reactive for the most part, but they're stuck being reactive now, significantly far behind on the game, and it's not really getting better.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to offer as a solution was Captain trying to buy time with his 7 ults, Stormcloud, but got taken out first. Plus Shiri could actually be, even eyeing taking that out if they think that is the last desperate play from Drakkar, and it is getting more and more desperate as we're talking, guys. Maybe not as drastic as the last game played from Drakkar, but they are up against one of the best teams in Deadlock at this moment, and it was always going to be tough, and it absolutely is tough. There's the Stormcloud that was immediately taken out of the skies. Goodbye. No more help from 7 at this point. The Shrine's going down, Guardians are down, or not all of them actually, they could actually get the Guardians on the way out, but the Shrine's going down, the first level Patron's going down. I don't know if they continue any more forward, but maybe they could push the issue and just try and win right here, right now. Almost a 30k soul lead for Virtus Pro. So
yeah, it just kind of depends here for VP, is that do you want to play to the situation of the game or play along your practice? I think generally speaking, if this were a game up against Abrahams or a game up against one-win team, backing out, grabbing a little bit more jungle farm, and waiting for a re-engage, probably the safer option, even though, from what we've seen so far, the stat advantage and general play of the game. Could they have forced an end there? Probably, but this is more so just housekeeping, playing it safe while you have a huge lead, and, not really giving Drakkar a whole lot of opportunity to get back into the game. And again, for Drakkar, ideally you'd want to get like a pickoff here and there, but you don't really have the team comp to generate those pickoffs.
Yeah, and certainly Virtus Pro did not give them an opportunity. They all backed out. The wise decision was made. The best decision in most games was made. And so, just stealing all the farm. Drakkar having some trouble, aren't they? It's a bit unfortunate to see that, because I think we're all kind of hoping one of these pickup teams are going to be able to show us. Like, I think there's some talk even about how the individual players on the team have actually been performing quite well. I think actually combining together and facing the old standards of Europe especially just proves to be very difficult. So you're left talking about how far behind they are, how far behind they are, and not much else.
Again, it's easy to kind of forget when oftentimes, the Deadlock scene, we see, the top 3 EU teams always playing each other, and there's always opportunities. But in this case, you see the other side of the coin when one team is significantly ahead for a large portion of the game, and how painful it can be to sort of get back in, particularly with the type of team comp that Drakkar is running. And the reality is that when you're at this level of being behind, you're hoping for VP to make a tragic mistake. But you look at VP's resume, they are probably the most consistent team when they are ahead right now. So Drakkar, looking for that 1 in 14 million chance.
Isn't it kind of crazy how different professional Deadlock is, by the way, to just the normies?
Yes.
I'm a normie, so I can say that. But it is actually crazy. There's a lot of complaints that, it's too long of a game. While competitive, they're often sub 30 minutes, if not more, around 20 minutes, what this game is sizing up to be. And obviously a lot of communications going on in the professional scenes that absolutely helps, and then just knowledge of what they need to do or need to deny from their opponents, right? Because then there's also some complaints elsewhere about, like, hey, the comeback mechanics are too strong. And that would be true if Virtus Pro were to, take a win in a team fight, and then say, okay, that was good enough, and not grab, the urn when they have the map pressure, and then not go for the walker when they can, but that's just never going to happen. Virtus Pro has said, I guess, the best team when they're ahead to stay ahead, and Drakkar are the ones maybe taking this as a learning experience at this point. I really don't mean to be like, well, sorry guys, goodbye forever. But maybe that's what you do at this point, is just be like, okay, this has been good learning. We're facing one of the best teams in Europe, and okay, now I see how that worked, and maybe next time we'll try this.
Well, also, I think at some point you look at the schedule and be like, well, it does get easier tomorrow because it can't possibly get harder. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they have Abrahams tomorrow. That'd actually be rough if Abrahams is the next one. But Captain goes for the Storm Cloud, and even though it's, in theory, good positioning, the stat difference is just way too much. And also, you got a completely pumped up, ready to go Listic. Moving on in along Mikhail S, who just gets to rat-tat-tat away. And yeah, with this team fight here, it's going to be straight to Patron and a quick W for Virtus Pro.
And start to finish, got a great early game leading into the mid game. Only opportunity for Drakkar was when the mid was taken. They did make that choice to go for a push on the lane, which makes a lot of sense. They really weren't going to be able to deny mid. But even that was very short-lived, and even though it gave them a flex slot, that wasn't enough to come back. So there you're going to have it. Drakkar will lose the first game of this best of two to Virtus Pro, but it is the toughest matches first for Drakkar. Tomorrow will be easier for them to a certain degree. You're right, though. They are facing Abraham. So
oh, they are. I was going to say, I was about to go look. It's like, do they actually have Abrahams? Like, dear God. I mean, the group stage is a long, grueling process, but it is a short, painful hit for Drakkar. Unless they upset Abrahams, any given day, you never know.
Yeah, I'm looking. I think that's what we're actually really looking at, honestly, especially early on in a game's life with patches that could just come out of nowhere. By the way, like tomorrow, there's a patch. I'd be like, oh, okay, fair enough. Completely changes everything. I think that's what's really exciting about it. But then on the other hand, sometimes a couple of teams, couple players, they really do just have a handle on something. They might be getting the better wind in their sails because the patch actually does favor them, and then suddenly they're on top for an extended period of time. Obviously not entirely to do with the patch. Virtus Pro is just a very good team overall.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't be a certain midweek tournament getting express shot nerfed in the middle of it while Yamato was being a top draft pick. That could never happen. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, highlights wise, this is kind of what we expected. Technically, Drakkar hung on a little bit longer in the lane phase, but tangibly, not much in the end. I mean, a lot of similarities between what happened in this game and what happened a game prior against one-win team. And I mean, the common theme for Drakkar is that if you don't get out of laning phase, at least neutral, you can't expect the rest of the game to go super well. It is very difficult to always be playing from behind by the time you hit the 10-minute mark with the first earned fight and buffs coming up.
I'm going to ask you for a little bit of education here from me and for chat if you need it. What could happen with a better draft if you lose the laning phase?
I mean, there's certain heroes that you can have where you can lose laning phase and then potentially bring things back. Particularly, historically, is that if you have a Holiday, for example, right? Holiday is one of those heroes where, okay, we're down like 10, 15K, but we got a Holiday that's going to build something like Veilwalker, and they are now going to try to terrorize the other team, look for picks, and go from a 6v5 and then into more and more like 6v4 and try and take one pick and continue to stagger it here and there. But if you don't pick any playmakers, you kind of put yourself in this hole that you tell yourself, okay, you can't fall behind or else, because you lose the ability to dictate fights if you don't have any playmakers on your team and you fall behind. You have to be completely reactive, and if you give VP that level of map control, generally speaking, they're not going to let you back into the game.
Yeah. Not the most interesting of post-game screens, just because it was one of those one-sided games. But what I do find interesting is it didn't feel like there was someone who just ultimately popped off for VP. I mean, they all played super solid, so we weren't just going like, oh my God, look at this crazy. He's going on like a 10 game. But it is Mikhail S, who I feel like we didn't mention too often, aside from me noting like, hey, the Souls are still looking really good. Obviously, he got a lot of early game picks with Sharika, actually. So there is that combination there. But it can feel sometimes like it's a sleeper hit where you're like, oh, well, here's like the Viscous Goo Ball. Here's the Lash Death Slam. The Infernus in some isolated duels always fun to watch. And then Mikhail S, whether it's on Pocket, or I guess in this case on Mirage, actually leading the scoreboard and being that back line, just ever consistent Mirage dealing out that damage.
Yeah, I mean, Mirage is kind of interesting in a sense where if everything is going well in your front line, you're not going to be calling out the Mirage more than just being like, oh, he's actually just pumping damage in the back. Someone should probably get on the Mirage. But if you're getting knocked around by Dimov, who has had great disruption on Viscous the entire way through, if you're worried about Listic, who's in your face, you're creating layers of barriers here that you have to worry about disruption-wise before you can even think about diving on the MKLS, who, again, is still going to be really slippery on the Mirage. So what Mirage gives you is just this very consistent source of damage from the back. And then you come out with Zergy, who's doing much of the same thing. It's very similar to how melee creeps will run with the same combo, where they also value running the Infernus and Mirage at the same time, because in a way you're putting also a bit of a timer on the other team, where if the team fight is going long enough and you're not able to chase down two heroes that are actually pretty hard to lock down without like a direct lasso or something, eventually you're going to lose the fight just from the poke damage alone. So VP's very comfortable playing in that zone.
Gotcha. Yep. If only Wraith had her old lockdown, I swear. You know, she'd be great. Just people not able to do anything against you while you can free fire. Sounds perfectly balanced to me. But we're away from that and we're into the second draft phase. So Calico, and this time not Warden. A little bit of talk about there. Who's going to grab Warden first?
Yeah, I mean, that is very, very interesting as it comes out here where, okay, I think it's VP that's second pick here. I may be wrong. But given the fact they banned Calico, that would make sense. So for VP, the question is, how much do you value the Mirage? Are you going to go with the Geist Mirage because Mirage has jumped all the way back up? Or do you go Sharik? Now's your time. You don't have to be on the lash again, buddy. We're going to give you a Warden. You can, play it like the good old days where there was back in December where Shriek basically played nothing but Warden during that cycle of tournaments where, December had a ton of tournaments in the deadlock space too, and particularly in EU of back to back 10K turns. I think One Win themselves ran 2 bombshells back then. So really big month. That was, I just think back when I was like, wow, Shriek played a lot of Warden then.
Is that going to be an early pick, or is it's going to be so they get 2 now, right?
Yeah, VP gets 2 in the back, and okay, Drakkar going with the early Kelvin pick. For a second, I thought it was Virtus Pro that was picking first, but it was not the case. Or rather, sorry, picking second, but that was not the case. But so even picking first, they decided to take down the Calico because they just wanted to value the Geist a little bit more. Kind of interesting there, but man, going Viscous Kelvin, yeah, you got a lot of protection, but you've given up quite a bit of power, the VP in turn here, where VP, think about what they're going to, they could actually just return fire with Mirage and Warden if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Which
Mirage
is,
and Warden.
It's going to leave Drakkar in somewhat of a rougher spot. I mean, as much as I love you getting, extra support items, but they go with Pocket. And again, this may be, there's a lot of respect for Cosmetical playing Pocket, and this may just be nope, you don't get to play Pocket. We're just going to deny it.
I see. Well, that means the KLS is probably on Pocket then, right? So who would be on Mirage?
Probably Shriek. Okay, and that may be why they didn't angle to the Warden, because, I mean, you can put Dimov on the Warden. He's played it before, but he hasn't played it as much in recent times. So I would guess it's going to be Shriek on the Mirage, and then, as you say, KLS on the Pocket.
Okay, all right. So I'm still looking at Warden. I'm looking for Infernus is going to play in as well, as far as can it be a counter, or can it actually be grabbed by VP as well? So then Zergy also has a hero that they really like. It also doesn't help out against the Warden. That would be kind of a brutal combination of events that could unfold. But Drakkar has, they have to say right now, just waiting on their choices. Question is always do certain players and certain teams actually feel comfortable on all of the heroes, right? So if we don't see an Infernus a lot from them, maybe they don't really want to grab it. It's going to be Shiv coming out, so it's the first.
You get the Shiv Kelvin lane, but as we saw there, VP was willing to swap, and it wasn't Drakkar wasn't able to play Shiv Kelvin as the killer lane that we've seen it. But I do wonder if the Shiv Kelvin lane, it's still a good lane, but I feel like pros have kind of learned to work against it because it doesn't get the results that we've necessarily seen before, where again, the first few times I was really becoming popular in pro play, it would run over an entire lane. But as you saw, I mean, VP even had set strats of being we are going to actually swap the Infernus into your lane. We want the Infernus matchup over and in, which is probably what they're angle for here, unless Drakkar takes out the mid-stage bans. If I'm Drakkar, I actually I say you take out Infernus because I think they will pick it over Wraith, in this case versus Shiv. But then if you don't deny the Wraith, then Zergy's going to play Wraith, and that's still really good for him. So in a way, you'd have to almost try the angle for both.
Could they ban Warden, you think? They want to get that No, well,
Hmm.
okay, it's Yamato and Seven that are banned anyway, so we're just talking about nothing. What do you think about those bans? I mean, the Yamato has been key in a lot of these drafts, being chosen, not banned. So I understand her prominence and her importance. But the Seven being the choice, I thought was a more interesting one.
I wonder if with them banning the 7, this signals that VP is going to do something like the Wraith, and then they think Drakkar won't favor the Infernus, or like if they pick Infernus is going to give them like some hero pool troubles, is, you know, kind of where I'm reading on that. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but it's going to be Drakkar with first pick out of here. We'll see what they decide to grab. Note that Warden is still on the table, and I mean, for both teams being in need a little bit more frontline, you've taken down it may have been a play of like take down Yamato, grab Warden, and limit VP's frontline even more. It may have been the way Drakkar was angling here.
Okay, yeah, I can get that logic actually. Taking it away, but then would expect Infernus if they'd take Warden. I love the combinations that you can do. I mean, I'm not as smart as you when it comes to Deadlock, but even I'm just like, what are the combinations you can come up with? There's like 4 characters in Deadlock that you just don't even talk about, right? It's like Viper you don't talk about, like Ennis you don't talk about, and then maybe one more that I forget.
I love the community reaction where every time a tournament does something, you know, people assemble the pick ban, you know, stats for what's being picked and banned. And every time there's a McGinnis art that shows up is like, why is McGinnis bad? Please, buff McGinnis, Volvo, what is going on? Like, please give McGinnis love. And then also, if you ever do a tier list and you say Mo is anything less than bad, Mo and Krill also has like a very dedicated fan page who's like, excuse me, Mo and Krill is the worst right now. He needs buffs. No, there's some very passionate character fan bases already.
Yes, there's a lot of passionate people in the fan base. That's what I was going to point out too. Okay, so if I got some picks, let's talk about this. Warden was taken by VP, and a Lash as well, or Drakkar went for the Wraith. I am wondering if Infernus is going to be able to slot into Drakkar. We didn't see it in their game so far, but could they actually have a player do that? And then would they want to choose it as well with the current lineup that they have?
I mean, we've seen teams make Infernus Wraith work, and look, realistically speaking, it would be kind of a big screw you to Zergy here. Like, a Zergy I mean, is not like worthless if you get him off his main hero pool, but I think Zergy, when you look at this draft, is like has to be pretty heavily set on playing Infernus. So picking Infernus would be griefing VP. The question is, if for what Drakkar is planning, are you griefing yourself even more so by doing that? Is kind of where I'm at. But barring Drakkar picking Infernus, I would be a little bit shocked if VP did not go Infernus in turn.
Right, yeah, I think that would be the last choice if they can. And it's not Infernus, it's going to be Haze. Which I enjoy. You can talk a lot about that now, coming back in, but then also the Holiday and Vindicta on the side of Drakkar.
You know what this means, though? This could be... Okay, thinking about, like, hero depth. This could be one of those games where Zergy is actually on the Geist, which they've done every now and then it's, like, Obakim on the Haze.
Really? Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's like a swap VP will do every now and then, like, within their hero pools, but that may be the case. It's not that like Zergy can't play Haze or like it hasn't happened before, but that may be more angling here too. We'll see. It's a little bit interesting. Holiday and Vindicta coming out for Drakkar. I mean, I'm happy they have the Holiday this time around because now they have a little bit more range to their gameplay, where even if they get slammed in lane, they still have some options to get picks in the mid game without just, you know, really hoping VP makes positional error.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might turn out better if they actually get slammed again. I mean, my worry is not necessarily in the drafts. It's just, you know, can they actually withstand Virtus' Pro just presence? You know, it feels like they're bearing down on them just with the name itself. Which I might be, you know, selling that a little too hard. I'm sure a lot of Drakkar are very talented players and very good. But it's really, I feel like at this point, when you start to reach up to that higher tier of competition, so much about like how long have you been together? Like how good are you at communicating? How much do you know like what your partner is going to do? And that can be sometimes missing from some of the more, you know, pickup groups that ideally they do well, they end up getting picked up by a big sponsor, and then suddenly we're there on the OG ground and it feels really cool. But isn't always destined for everyone. I know that was VP. What did you say their initial team was?
Buff Enjoyers.
Yeah. That's the jam.
Yep, they went from Buff Enjoyers to Virtus Pro, and the only change they had there was they kept the same roster the entire way through, with the exception of Piggy. Piggy was their original more supportish player. They dropped Piggy in favor of Obakim, but otherwise they've been rock solid ever since. And I mean, stability is interesting in the Deadlock scene because they're the most stable team. Hydra Nation has gone through their own roster like 8 million times as the NA top team at one point. Other EU top teams are. The original rotation was DMS, Pajala, Scambria in there, and then those teams end up going through reformations across the board. But either way, we are getting on into it, and we're going to answer real quick who is actually on the Haze, because there's again, there's a few different things. It's either going to be Obakim, it's either going to be Zergy. Who's on the Geist? Is it actually Zergy on the Geist? We'll see.
We'll see in a couple of minutes, as the emphasis is on, I suppose, just beginning lane action, which already have a little bit of a nice little duel. Didn't last very long. Probably shouldn't have either. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. Who is on the Haze? A couple of minutes for titles to appear. Besides that, I mean, what do you think about the actual laning setup? Wow, this Lash is getting very, very aggressive. It's kind of mono-a-mono so far. Very even on that fight.
Yeah, I mean, the middle lane is actually pretty interesting so far. I mean, it's kind of on the Mirage to soften things up, give Lash opportunities to, finish things off thereafter. I mean, it could really go either way with Vindicta Holiday on the other end. Like, if you're able to land a good stake, the fall through there is going to be pretty massive. So middle lane, in a word, volatile.
Okay.
Looking across here, Shiv, Kelvin lane on the left-hand side versus Pocket Geist, and I'd expect that lane to go more Shiv Kelvin, once you get about a minute or two into the game.
Yeah, a couple more abilities needed to really highlight that. And then, yes, we have Haze and Warden on the right side. So my understanding is that Haze, takes a while to be really the most effective in lane, but up against the Viscous and Wraith. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the thoughts I have right now, we got the names in here, and it's a little... It's Zergy, Warden, and Listic on the Geist, which is one of the original Geist players that... the original Geist player for VP, but, it's been shifted around, so it's not Zergy Geist this time around. Zergy on the Warden. And yeah, I mean, it's all sorts of shifted. Michaelis still on the Mirage, so, VP always surprising at times, because all the players they have there are generally pretty versatile, so the swaps... you don't always 100% know how they're going to play it.
Yeah. I wonder if you have any insight as to, are there times where maybe they are facing someone that they have a lot of confidence against, which I would say Virtus Pro should be confident against Drakkar, and that they use it as a time to get that kind of more legitimate practice in, rather than just a couple of, have you played Lash lately? Have you played Warden lately questions?
Yeah, I mean, and there's always that case where it's just like, okay, this is a match situation. How are we feeling about this? My assumption for VP is that they've probably workshopped this before, and also probably a little bit angry they get back on top because, the last few weeks have not been great for them overall, where, they were on top for a while, and then, they've run into Abrahams, who's been feeling absolutely renewed and reinvigorated. But, they look here back over on the right-hand side, and... neither team significantly far ahead here just yet.
No, actually very even. Just a little lead here for Virtus Pro, but not nearly as much of the, oh gosh, is this going to be the precursor? Is this going to be what the rest of the game looks like? Because last game we started off with that really quick punch onto the Wraith, I believe it was. Blob was playing them at that point too. And that was like, oh no, is this a sign of things to come? Not quite, but then very quickly it was apparent that Virtus Pro is just pushing way better, and then Guardian Spell, and we know how the West went down. But this time it is way closer, seeing some promise in the lanes from Drakkar, and actually on the left side they're pushing quite aggressively. Listic's quite low. Michaelis actually in the mid is also a bit low, but well protected. Sherry feeling a lot of confidence to get up on top of this Guardian. Okay, yeah, Listic did get taken out, so eventually found out that's why they were pushing so aggressively. They wanted that. And a little heal for Cosmetical too allows them to push continuously.
I see that handsome bastard.
Oh yeah, and wait, Michaelis also isn't on Pocket.
No, they changed it up.
Yeah,
so it's D-Mob on Pocket, which maybe we've seen like once or twice before, but yeah, I mean, again, it's a bit different than expected. Also, I didn't really get a chance to touch on it, but the right lane is kind of one of the classic lanes that never really came to fruition because they weren't like meta at the same time of like Warden, Haze, where Sleep Dagger in the cage is like a pretty straightforward combo. The problem is with the lane they're in is that even if they land the combo, it's up against Viscous, so like lane-wise, it's pretty smart to Drakkar, like whether intentional or not, to had Viscous in that lane, because if you land the combo, it's just getting cubed off.
Yep, just cube, save your life. Very aggressive here. The Death Slam not going to be helpful. Maybe biting off a little more than they could actually chew. And well, hey, wait a second. I mean, this is VP going down, man. This is actually a good start for Drakkar, who ends up taking a little bit of a soul lead as well. I'm getting a little excited about this potential as Listic also falls. The laning phase, the best it's been so far for Drakkar.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking good. Also, I feel like Shriek may feel a little bit hard done in by it, where you have a bunch of Shriek heroes in the game, but Shriek doesn't get to play any of them here so far. It's had more on the last training arc, but maybe getting a little bit of evidence in here where I love the last Desperation Parry. It's like you're absolutely going to die as long as the other person keeps left-clicking you, and they don't muscle memory into your parry. We're just like, Walker's like, please parry me, give me a second chance. Shriek's just like, nah, I think I'm just going to keep blasting. Thanks very much.
Well, no decisive moves as of yet, is, even the souls once again even up. But finally a Guardian falls. That is going to be mid Guardian falling. Virtus Pro takes that lead and can open up the opportunities to go to the other lanes, which is what they immediately do while the minions are still on Drakkar's side. So Shriek going off to the left lane, being pushed very aggressively. We've got the Holiday responding in turn, however. It's going to turn into a 1v1 battle for a moment at the very least. And, well, Shriek's in a little bit of trouble. Does need to get out of there. Uses the vents, run down to the mid, but that barrel was well shot and no escape. That turned around on Shriek. Good call there from Brick, I suppose, realizing that was going to be the play. Left his teammate to kind of clean up the lane a little bit, or hopefully defend it against the Mirage, which so far, they have the Walker to always fall back to if necessary, but that was a good read.
Yeah, I mean, break falling was a great move there. I'll give credit to Shriek, too, for the attempted juke. Like, it was good. It just, he didn't have enough HP to actually make it fully work. Meanwhile, in terms of dives, we got D-Mob diving in, dropping the Affliction. Hitting there on to the Shiv on the left-hand side. Overall follow-through not going to be there. Just, I think, trying to hope to force a little bit back, get a little bit more tower damage coming in. Meanwhile, right-hand side, right-hand Guardian getting awfully low. You take a look at here, Obichem wants a little bit more, going to force out the Goo Ball. Goo Ball come back in. I don't think Viscous wants any of that whatsoever, but if you're Obichem, you go to the high ground, just play it a little bit safe.
Yeah. The job was already done. The Guardian was going to fall, so no need to play it risky. I think the flies to the skies, and there's not much that Mirage can do. A little bit lower. All that continued pressure on the mid lane, actually. They're actually looking towards the Walker. No one trying to get over on that left and maybe push it one way or the other. No, it's a lot into mid. Another Lash v Holiday battle. The lasso went through with the jump pad, and they're barely going to keep alive. Rayek going to need to think about getting the heck out of there. The healing right is exactly what they're going to do, but it was too late. They are found out and taken down as well. And now it's Captain, who's in a lot of trouble. Cube to be trying to save some time. I think that's all they really can do. They got so much of VP on the hunt. Yeah, all they could do was buy that time. So successful 3-kill streak there for Obichem.
Yeah, I mean, Obichem's good to highlight here too, because again, Haze generally gets her power spikes more into the mid game, and Obichem overall one of the more effective Hazes at getting high value. So I mean, VP they've built a little bit of lead here. It's not as dramatic as the previous game, but I think the real canary in the coal mine for Drakkar is the fact that you take a look at the overall game state. You're still down 2 Guardians, can easily escalate more. Even with Mikhail S under pressure, like say you kill Mikhail S here, you're still nowhere near close to actually evening out the Guardian situation, which is really what you're worried about. Like mid Guardian, right Guardian, as healthy as can be.
Yep, at the end of the day, it's all nice and fun to watch a third-person shooter action, but a lot of it's about the objectives and the mobile part, right? So this is the concern. This has been the concern for Drakkar, but they really are providing more hope in this game than the previous 3 that they have played. More of that back and forth, leaving a Guardian down on their side, and so far not finding any success. Movement over to the left side, pressure trying to be applied by Drakkar, but Virtus Pro bringing equal amounts of men, and that's not going to find a Guardian anytime soon.
Right now you got 3 on the left here for VP. They've just left Mikhail S in middle to farm, and I mean, this is where you can just go in and decide, okay, cosmetical, let's rumble a little bit more here. VP stacking the deck here on the left-hand side. Let's see how deep they want to go. Piggy right now just backing out.
I could see why Drakkar really did want to try and push that left. I didn't realize how low the Guardian was on Virtus Pro's side, so that it is just like one tap away, but they have pushed it completely the opposite. Now they are pushing into Drakkar's Guardian. And another, now I see why you call them the European pauses, by the way. I'm getting it. I'm understanding it.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the understanding. You realize it's actually hit the point where chat, like, anytime you get a pause now, just says EU. regardless of deadlock tournament, where it's just known. And at some point, I don't know when. I mean, really, I'm not trying to like forfeit people, and the pauses for like lag or other stuff are reasonable, but look, we gotta get to the bottom of EU having approximately like 8 times the amount of pauses per game than NA. Like, of all things to lead NA in, like lead it in overall game skill, perhaps, maybe, but also leading it in the ability to hit the pause button.
I have a theory on that, but it might be a little too out there. It might be a little too funny. It might be a little too NA making fun of, honestly, which is just kind of a standard, I feel like, for esports. But anyway, we did have that in the midst of potential battle. Ends up that everyone is able to flee. Freya getting very low to dying, but not quite. So, yeah, my theory is that NA is kind of crazy. I mean, I can already hear it in like the drafts that they do and the metas that they bring out. And they just like, what if someone is just losing frames? And they're like, no, play through it. NA, chest bump. And Europe's a little more like, no, we gotta let them reset.
Look, as much as I'd like to contest any of that, man, NA does have like some manic energy that should have at times. But okay, first earn fight's coming up here, and I mean, part of the benefit for BP, you're running the Lash comp, you have Death Slam as a threat. We'll have Piggy threatening here to go for the Earn pickup. Take a look at how positioning here. A few more members of VP still stuck here in middle. Earn is picked up by Vrake, and they just rescue beam it away.
Nice.
Does Dracar, it's like, all right, we're gonna yoink you back. And they do get Earn control as a result.
Yeah, nice play right there. I mean, the dive was a little scary, but then the rescue beam to come in, very nicely done. It's not going to be on the Kelvin for the Earn run. And, oh, okay, actually, Varric in a little bit of trouble. Obikim is on the hunt alongside Kel S. But, yeah, obviously it got pulled away. They can see that. Now they're just going to turn that into an attack onto the left lane. Very unfortunate that, well, Victor was on the way out. Trax... It was going to try and help out with the Earn or something, but they're gone. Piggy's taken down. And while Nintendo did come back, is it already too late? I don't think so, but it would be a 4-on-2 situation if VP wanted to push the issue. They do need to be concerned about that Earn as well. However, as we have 3 members of Drakkar on the right side looking to cap it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for Earn, and VP, at the very least, if they give up Earn, they tend to just focus on objectives in turn.
I see.
Earn, though, still in contest there on the right-hand side. We'll see what VP brings. And, okay, in the end, they just like, oh, it's going to be turned in by Blob. Maybe they get Pound of Flesh here at the very end. We still got Obikim looking keen to do something. Vrake going to go down, and see if Obikim is able to grab a little bit more.
Well, the Lash might. Medical goes down as well. Blob next to fall, and then poor old Trax left alone. Didn't even have any stamina to try and run away. That was more than a pound of flesh, maybe 2, 3, 4 pounds, actually, as the Walker is in their sights at this point.
Yeah, I mean, a bargain sale, and the slam back over. Also, not only going to grab Piggy here, but he got plenty of people in prime position to apply a lot of damage into the Walker. So you talk about trades. Okay, Drakkar, you got the Earn. You just gave up a bunch of kills and the Walker. The trade, absolutely not in your value. And yeah, I mean, 72k now the 60k. Virtus Pro getting separation, getting map control, and Dimov also just smashing Captain back around in the mid.
Lead starting to gather a little bit in the souls, and it already has in the objectives. Again, reminder, Drakkar still have not yet to get a guard. They got the mid, actually, but they don't have 2, so they don't have that flex slot. So that's what's been concerning for Drakkar in a lot of these games. A little fight over on that right side. Blob goes down. Wanted to take down Obikim with him. Fortunately, could not. So he retreat, heal up, and come back onto the play.
Meanwhile, going for the slam. Ring of Vindicta back to ground. Flash right now. Shriek feeling a little bit better after the kind of rough early game. BP rotating in and around into middle. Bigger rotation, though, coming in for Drakkar. They got the frozen shelter up, so this could turn against them. Get tracks, but it comes at the cost of Shriek's life.
Yeah, 1 for 1 right there. That looked like a more dangerous convergence, honestly, but not as of yet. The blood will continue to spill, however. Shiv is on the hunt, or at least thought they might have a chance, but now realizing that they're overwhelmed, Cosmetical is sure to go down. Yeah, I think they just thought that maybe it was a more isolated duel than it was, or maybe someone else could have popped out a little bit. They're also going down. Just more wins here for Virtus Pros because they need to stack them up.
And again, the problem that Drakkar now finds themselves in is, once again, Drakkar is behind on the map. And, you know, they do have more options for pickups here. They can look to break and go, you know, bring someone in. But whenever you're up against VP, you're also against the timer because they're very good about keeping continual pressure up on objectives. They have a team that is full of gun damage too, so when they are on objective, you look at how the mid-walker here is just melting between the Haze and the Warden, and it is just an incredible amount of pressure.
Yes, it is. Michaelis does get taken down, but is that a start to anything significant? No, it is not.
No.
Yeah, that didn't result in very much.
That was basically the small tax applied for you took our walker. we came over, we weren't able to save the walker, but we got a kill off of it, but it doesn't do a ton in the oral game. Speaking of walkers, it's just not stopping.
Oh, guys, Soul Exchange was ready, so Alan Holiday still in trouble. The walker will not be going down. Lustig still a little overpowered right there. The rest of Drakkar were able to respond a little bit quicker, and so that walker will not go down yet, but it is certainly low and within their sights as the rest of the lanes, I was going to say are pushed, but it's kind of deceiving because I keep expecting, at 15 minutes for the midway point to be kind of a neutral zone, but actually Virtus Pro still have a Guardian there, so only push so much here for Drakkar until they need to actually bring over some characters and get the objectives, which simply is not happening.
The other problem they're in right now, once again, we're in Drakkar flex slot watch, where Shiv is going to sacrifice his body to get this flex slot. Like, he knows he's going to die here to the Haze. But that was Cosmetical going, I'll do it myself. We have a flex slot. We're not going to do the 20-minute Drakkar no flex slot that we saw earlier in the day. But it's still not great. Of all people you want to do a trade, do you want your Shiv to be one of the people doing that instead of getting farm? No, not really, but, crime of opportunity, next man up.
Exactly, yeah, just had the opportunity and figured it'd be worth it overall, and perhaps in a bad situation or worse situation, it was a slightly better one. But the urn is now a point of contention. Unfortunately, not much, as Drakkar kind of had to let that one go, alongside the walker, of course, so all the walkers are now down. Drakkar pushed back into their base. Plenty of freedom for Virtus Pro to make whatever decision they want to make. That could include mid, and I think that might be next on the list. Even though they have not gotten anyone down on Drakkar, and I guess there are a couple of ults that could be a little bit scary. If they make it fast enough, they call it fast enough, they burn them down fast enough, and there you have it, they'll probably get mid, yeah. Although maybe Drakkar has a response. Maybe something can change here.
Well, VP's really going to be relying on Death Slam to make this secure, but it's not as secure as when they're running the Yamato. And oh, by the way, you got Captain rolling on in, ball ready to go. Is it going to be enough for an interrupt? VP all over the top end. Okay, they get the rejuve to climb in a little bit late, but hey, Obakim still gets hit.
Yep, Obakim is taken down. Actually, a couple of trades, really, but the ideal situation, really, if you're not going to be able to get that rejuve, is to take a superior fight, which, hey, it's getting more and more superior as I am talking. 3 down there, actually, for Virtus Pro, and maybe more to come. They have the rejuve. This will be a temporary setback if they end up losing this fight. I hesitate to say a loss fight right there. It was a little more ambiguous, I suppose, but the rejuve still in effect as far as the lane's going to be pushed. Still buff, and it was a good enough trade, I suppose. A lot of people did lose rejuve, but then 3 people went down on Drakkar as well.
Also, I think for VP, as the internet strikes before our very eyes, I think for VP, also, they just enjoy the extra push that they're going to get here off the rejuve, where, yeah, ecom-wise, they may have given up a little bit. They still were able to, respawn, hit Drakkar nearly as hard as they got hit in turn, and, what you're going to get in return here is that they are going for base Guardians. Not only are they going to get the flex slot from that, but also, very likely about to get some shrines on top of it. I don't think VP is going to get away with less than that by the time the rejuve is fully done.
It was at least a little bit more difficult to get the whole trifecta, right? They didn't get the base Guardians and the Shrines and the Patron, which had happened in the previous game. There was a little bit more of the pushback. Drakkar actually did end up taking down quite a few people in the mid-fight. It didn't go drastically one way or the other. Taking away their rejuve, maybe them looking a little more hesitant. They're going to want to go ahead and reheal and maybe do a little farming first before regrouping. And maybe still hitting with Zergi and Sherix having the rejuve, but if not, I don't think that's too much lost on the side of VP, who really do have a solid lead. About 25k up in souls with all the lanes pushed and all the opportunities. Also, I feel like the scouting's going to be great if Obakim can just run around and be like, hey, this is where they are. Their setups are going to be pretty darn good. But Drakkar is not without hope, even still. It's like, this is a better game for Drakkar, right? But it's still not good enough to take down Virtus Pro.
I mean, Drakkar right now, they do have to play like pretty defensively, and a lot is kind of on Vrake to get a lasso. The problem is that we're kind of on the threshold here where if Vrake, even if Vrake like gets the best possible pickoff, right? Like getting something like the Warden or getting something like a Geist bursted down, like some of the heroes that you expect to live throughout the entire fight, the resources Drakkar is going to have to expend there, and then the fact they're going to have to fight the rest of the team that's still pretty farmed. I mean, the level of disengage off the engage they're going to need is like pretty unreal. But in the end, I feel like you're looking at Drakkar, you got to look at Vrake right now, see how step one goes with the holiday, and go from there, and then, you know, hope you get some frozen shelter shenanigans to go along with it.
It's going to be so difficult, though, because right there we actually saw kind of the example I was talking about of the haze really being used for a lot of scouting. Not that there was any assassination attempt, right? The Drakkar are so pushed back, they are entirely defensive. They're not going to be found too apart from each other just from the nature of the pressure on the map. But they can scout that out, right? They can say if Vrake's maybe going to have an opportunity. Ideally, right, they can also push together. So even if there is a pick with the lasso, maybe that starts off the fight okay, but then is the rest of the team with how much ahead they are in the souls, so they're going to dominate. I am with you. I'm totally with you. I think that's like kind of the goal right now, but Vrake's even maybe a little too alone. Yeah, maybe. Well, Trax is as well. Not going to be taken down. Actually turns around. Obikem wanted to go for it. Turns around. Big ol' ball goo trying to help out as well. But the Warden last stand comes through, and that is a lot of damage. Lash coming in as well with the Death Slam. And that is a ton of damage taken on Drakkar, but not a lot of deaths, actually. Just blob. You know, I was way more worried about Vrake and Trax surviving, but they end up surviving. It is a 5v5. Make it a 5v4. Piggy also taken down. Now the base is under fire. So while it's still 4 people up for Drakkar, it seems like they can't really get any opening in this fight. And they're going to have to give up the shrines.
It's pretty difficult at this point. I mean, they kind of need Wraith alive. They're going to contest this evenly. First stage Patron is just going to get ripped to shreds, and VP will be out of there. Also, you know, I didn't talk too much about itemization, but you know, one thing you can do here as Haze, especially worried about like you can telekinesis or everything, is like you can just go counterspell, which Obikem has grabbed, and you know, you're not going to catch too much of it on camera in terms of decision making, but it's like, you know, in this case, if you're Blob, if you did want to go for Obikem early fight, which would be like a key target, you know, Obikem is like, well, I'm just going to parry, and it's world's easiest parry when you see the telekinesis come in. So
yes, it can absolutely be. I mean, if they come in from the side or behind, which would be ideal, then it's a little more difficult, but you can kind of tell. You're just face for it. This is the cleanup job, it feels like, from Virtus Pro. They'd clean up some farm. Okay, well, it's no longer a cleanup job. Fight goes on in the midpoint. The not quite over there, but last stand, is it available? The Shriek went down. Vrake just went down. 1 for 1. Feels like it's going to be more explosive than that when we get some of these setups. And then the decision has to be made from Drakkar to actually pull back. Managed to get Obikem on the way out, but Piggy once again going down. I mean, 2 for 2 again, and it's like, okay, this is something that can be worked with. Well, Captain goes down too. Maybe with the base defense, we can try and win, but yeah, it's actually just going to be because Medical falls too. This is game.
Yeah, I mean, that was D-Mob coming on in and just splashing frogs everywhere. Massive affliction. And Drakkar, even though they were able to get a counter burst kill at the very beginning, it was just far too much damage. Set up a fantastic pocket opening and gives VP all the room they need to just finish things out right then and there. So VP making a quick 2-0, about as expected coming on in, but you know, again for Drakkar, hey, well, after Abraham's tomorrow, you're sliding downhill from there. You've gotten all the worst ahead of it, but by far the most brutal schedule of any team here in One Win Bombshell Vol.6.
I guess that's the way it goes with groups, right? Sometimes you just gotta get the worst out of the way. But again, Abrams is tomorrow for Drakkar as well. They got to think over things. I think we finally saw some improvement too, as far as that early phase where there was a little more back and forth, legitimately back and forth. It became very evident that Virtus Pro was ultimately winning, even if they weren't dominating in the souls. They were dominating in the objectives. So that was very important. But I still want to be like, hey, Drakkar, you know, you got something moving there, got something grooving. Maybe this can be taken and moved into the other opponents that you're going to have. Abraham's going to be tough, but then the rest of the crew here in One Win Bombshell, you know, I could definitely see some promise. Yeah, that is tough game, tough match, and Drakkar not able to stand up against the best that Europe has to offer.
Yeah, man. I mean, you take a look at how this went down. I mean, the interesting thing for me is the fact that I do think Sharik had to play a little bit out of his comfort zone, because I think about, heroes Sharik has played historically. For the most part, Sharik at times used to play tons of Warden for VP, used to play tons of Mirage for VP. I think there was even a few universes where he played guys, so that wasn't like anywhere near as common. But now it's just like, well, Sharik, the hero pools have worked out here that can you lash? And honestly, still not the worst lash performance coming out from Sharik. So to me, the interesting part of this game is that, Drakar's storyline aside, is just seeing a little bit more of, how much the VP hero pool can stretch and who's playing what, because it's definitely one of the most flexible in the deadlock scene.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to take away from watching Virtus Pro. They were the favorites. We expected them to win. They did, but then throwing in a little bit of a nice thing to talk about, give us something to converse. They've changed up which hero is on which person. So that was fun to talk about. Maybe we'll see more of this dynamic change up as they continue. As you were saying, Abraham's getting him some trouble. Maybe this is where the mix-up is really gonna help out as they get better and better practice and more of the legitimate tournament plays. A little scoreboard action here, as you can see, very evenly divided, spread out alongside Virtus Pro. It's a real team effort there, but Zergy getting some nice accolades. Again, there was no moment where it was just like, well, that is the reason that they won from an individual player, right? But there were some nice moments for every player on Virtus Pro.
I mean, I think that was the reason they won moment was more that was more figured out when you look at the objectives and look at the fact that VP was just ruthless, as they always are, where they get an advantage and they turn one advantage into another. Even willing to sacrifice is like, hey, it's fine. We'll have like 2 or 3 people fall if we're going to get a walker in turn. Like, we are completely okay with these forms of trades that fits our style.
Yeah, and there was also that urn, right, that they let go, but then they got so